Okay, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome all members and guests to the March 26, 2024 council meeting. This is a quick reminder for everyone in attendance that our meetings are web streamed and televised, so if you wouldn't mind taking a moment to ensure your phones are on silent, that would be appreciated. For those who are attending virtually on the line, please mute yourself when you're not speaking, and when called upon to speak, please turn on your microphone and unmute yourself. Staff in attendance, please use the Microsoft Teams hand raise feature icon. And with that, I will call the March 26, 2024 regular council meeting to order. All members of council are present today. Councillor Michelle is attending virtually. And I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda unless there are any amendments. Moved by Councillor Huffman, seconded by Councillor Michelle. All in favor? That's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest today? Councillor Columbus.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I wish to declare a conflict of interest with respect to item 11.2 in the council and committee meeting minutes. This is the Delhi Cemetery Acquisition Budget Amendment Report. And a Norfolk County employed family member of mine is associated with the Cemetery Division of Norfolk County.
Okay, so noted. We will pull 11.2 and do the entirety of those minutes separate when the time comes. No, when we get to the minutes. Yep, okay. All right, I'm not seeing any other hands. Councillor Michelle, I didn't miss you. Okay, we're on to item 4 on the agenda. It's a consideration of the engineer's reports, the 9th concession drain. Norfolk County is in receipt of an engineered report for municipal drain pursuant to the Drainage Act. The meeting is to consider the engineer report as prepared by Spreet Associates London Limited for the 9th concession drain. All affected owners and agencies have been sent notice of this meeting in accordance with the Drainage Act requirements. Assessments will not be addressed at this meeting, but will be addressed by the Court of Revision at a meeting to be scheduled after the reports are accepted. So with that, I think we're going to start with Brandon from Spreet Associates to give us a presentation.
So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brandon Widner. I work with Spreet Associates out of London. I'm the author of this report, the 9th concession drain. So we do have a plan up on the screen so everyone can see, I guess, the location of the drain and what we're dealing with today. But we do have an existing municipal drain here. This drain was last reconstructed under an engineer's report in 1960. It's an existing drain. It mainly is open ditch. It starts down on on your screen there. It starts at the north east corner, outlets into a pond, comes across a number of farms, and then it hits McDowell Road. The drain then essentially splits, and it goes down each side of the road up into what is called Bill's Corners. So we have a drain here, which is a main drain, and a branch and 2 branches, one on each side of the road. This project was initiated by Norfolk County with the drainage superintendent. This drain has a long history of very difficult maintenance. There's a large number of utilities in the area where all the homes are in the hamlet. As everyone's aware, this area is very sandy. It's very difficult to do maintenance. We have a number of, let's say, gas main crossings, telephone lines, hydro poles. There's a lot of infrastructure up in that area. Makes it very difficult to do drain maintenance. So that's why the municipality initiated this project. In our work, we've also discovered there's a culvert under McDowell Road, which is in poor shape. That essentially is a large portion of this project. That's completely taken care of by the municipality, but it's part of this report as it's on the existing drain. So this is a rather large drainage project. It's about $925,000 in total. That being said, it's a large portion goes to Norfolk County and McDowell Road. Essentially, a third of the project is the culvert on McDowell just being replaced with a new 8-foot box culvert. There's an existing one there. The new one is slightly larger, but the existing one is in poor shape. We are then going to clean out both drains along the side of the road, all the way up into what is called Bill's Corners. When you get up into Bill's Corners, the drain will then be enclosed with plastic sewer pipe on each side. So we have about 600 meters of drain being enclosed. That encompasses people's laneways. Essentially, it fills in their front yards. It makes, the drain easier to maintain. With plastic sewer pipe, we're not looking at, maintenance every couple of years. We don't have to clean the ditch out. Takes care of all the utility crossings. It also replaces all the entrance culverts. One of the big problems we've seen on this drain, since 1960, let's say, a number of crossings have been installed for laneways. When they're done, they're usually done either with township forces or they're done privately. But a number of these crossings, let's say, aren't installed in the same alignment. They block water. Some are higher than the ones that are upstream of them. So it creates issues. There's a lot of ponding in the drain. More recently, a number of landowners probably see Norfolk County went in and cleaned the downstream end of the drain, I believe this winter. That money is being recuperated in this project. It's also been included. So that work's been completed to make the drain function better for this spring or get through this winter, but that's also being included. So it's a rather large project. There's a large number of components. It's an existing drain it's quite old. It's from the 60s. There's been a lot of changes since then. As you can see when you get into our assessment breakdowns, there's a large special assessment to the Norfolk County. There's also one to Hydro 1, Bell Canada. Everything's encompassed in this report. It gives the municipality a new report to do maintenance on in the future, but it also eliminates all the maintenance headaches that they've been receiving with cleaning the ditches out in the hamlet. So that being said, I know there's going to be some questions on this one, and I'm happy to answer any of them as they arise here.
Okay, thanks, Brandon. Maybe what we'll do, because we have such a good turnout today, Tracy, any chance you want to share that spot over there with Brandon and the microphone, and then he can answer questions of members at the podium? Or sure, or you can join Councillor Huffman and Councillor Van Passen there. Welcome to the team. Okay, so with that, I guess I suppose we could have left you there for a minute, but we'll start with questions from council through to Brandon. Councillor Brunton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question through to Mr. Widener. The box culvert you referred to, would that be a precast operation, or would that's not a as construct?
So what's being proposed is a precast box culvert. So they come in about 10-foot lengths.
Yeah.
It's essentially, that would make your road closure a number of days, not months. And for the size being proposed, it's an 8-foot box. That's very economical.
Yeah, okay. And my second question is, are you aware that this whole drainage area for the 9th concession drain drains into the Kent Creek watershed, our drinking water?
Correct. I've been notified of that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. So just as a reminder before we open this up to members of the public, so we are at the point where council has the option to accept the engineer's report. We do that by giving it its first and second reading, and then in the bylaw portion of the agenda, or the second option is to stop the proceedings. However, if that is the option, then we will defer to staff, and we will obviously have financial ramifications that ultimately can be passed on to the drainage assessment area. But essentially, we're here to discuss the report, which is the design and the location only, not the assessment, not the dollar value. That is for court of revision, which we are not. So I'm going to open it up to members of the public if they wish to come up to the podium to speak to the design of the drain or the location. You're more than welcome to come on up here to the podium and share your comments with us. Anyone on the line that wishes to speak? We got to get you on the record with the microphone. Please. Thank you. Just hit that button on the right, Sean.
First, I'd just like to comment on how he said about the maintenance every couple of years. That's not true. It's been maybe once in 20 years. And there isn't much water ponding there, it flows steady. I do agree there's a couple culverts might be a little high that could be changed without doing the whole drain. But them are just my comments. So I also don't know why the branch 1 is actually part of the municipal drain. It should have been a roads drain. And then you could have petitioned to go further south down the quarter line and join into branch 2, which would have made more sense to drain Bill's Corners. But and then for the engineer, I look on the south side there, branch 2. I was wondering why we're going with 750 pipe into 600 basins at every ditch inlet. So why are we reducing it? If we're putting in bigger pipe to increase the velocity and the volume, why are we decreasing it at each ditch inlet? Where is that engineer?
Okay, thanks, Sean. We'll get Brandon.
Yeah,
We-
so I was wondering about that.
The catch basins are offset. They're not online on that portion.
Okay,
So anything that is installed is in larger manholes. But the catch basins on that side are in line. It's to do with the properties being lower. So the catch the runs coming from the properties, the drain doesn't run through them. They're offset catch basins.
okay, is that same as branch 1 then also? Where
I-
you went with the 600 pipe?
Branch 1 is a little different. I believe the catch basins are not offset. They're online. They're manholes.
Okay,
So the reason the sizing difference is this drain was designed to convey a 2-year storm. There's more water coming from the south side of the watershed than the north.
okay. So my next one is on the assessment. So the assessments we were sent, they're not good then, or?
Assessments, to be honest, because council has no ability to impact the assessment rate, so it's Court of Revision, it's a separate committee, so that's why we don't discuss it today. We're not able to amend it.
So we can't go on what we were given last week?
Sorry?
On the price that we would have to pay, we can't go on that then?
No, the information you have is accurate. I'm just saying if you were to come and make an argument today that you think you should pay less or you think you should pay more, we don't discuss it because
Okay.
council doesn't make that
But I
decision.
do have a question towards that. So what guarantee do we have that it'll be within a certain range of that? Like, is there some guarantee it won't be 100% more, or it's only be up so much?
Sean, why
or
don't you
what?
give us all your questions and then we'll get staff to answer them. I'm making notes of them, so
Okay,
keep going.
and then
and
my
then-
next one is there HST included on this? And like, how are we billed? Is that itemized, a line item on our bill?
Okay.
And I guess that's all my questions for now.
Okay. All right, perfect. Thank you for coming. So just for clarity for everyone in the room, we'll get Bill to answer some of those questions on the price and the assessment and HST and how billed, but then we won't be discussing assessment values.
Through the mayor to council and the public. I'll touch on the assessment first. The Drainage Act is unique that it assesses the owners as well as the county. That's why a third-party engineer is used to establish the assessments. Council adopts or approves the report in general. The Court of Revision is a informal process to appeal assessments. All owners will get a notice of that after the council meeting if the report is adopted. So that's just part of the Drainage Act process. The council or county has the same rights to appeal their assessment as the owners. It's a balancing act the engineer has to come up with to find the most appropriate. Engineer will have one opinion, the owners will have another, and there's a balance in there somewhere. In terms of cost, the estimate the engineer has prepared is based on current market values. We sure hope the costs stay in or at or below that assessment. As in the last couple of years, everybody knows the market rates have gone haywire. They're starting to stable out now, and I think we're actually starting to see some construction costs come in below the engineer's estimates on these projects. So we're fairly confident in their abilities to estimate, but there is that flexibility that could happen. If the assessment or the construction cost comes in 30% higher than what the engineer has estimated, we have to go back to another council meeting to decide whether it proceeds again, similar to this fashion. Everybody will be notified of that if that happens. In terms of HST, on the construction contracts, we pay a net HST. Well, we pay the contractor as an HST, and then the county gets a rebate on that portion. Only the actual balance is assessed out at the end. So,
Okay, thanks for those comments. So anything over 30% higher than the rate that everyone is already informed of would come back to council. Okay. All right, is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the location and the design of the drain? Thanks for coming. Just please state your name for the public record.
Patty Townsend. First of all, thank you to the engineers for redoing the assessment, because I think that most of the property owners are a lot more relieved with the assessment that was given on February 22nd, especially at this time of inflation and other increases. It makes it very, very difficult to swallow the changes. So thank you for that. My question is, does this new assessment also include actually clearing out the ditches? Because what was done in December seemed to contribute to the clogging of the drains and the culverts. As opposed to alleviating the drainage, it actually decreased the flow, because our assumption was that the clearing of the drains means that they're going to actually excavate the silt and debris out of the drain, which the hack job that was done was adding to the debris in the drains and further clogging many of the culverts along that drainage system. So my question is, does this new assessment also include replacing of the culverts, often, many of them being clogged, but also clearing out the actual drain of the debris that has also been added to it? I understand from the last meeting that we attended that part of the drain is also to improve the flow, as many of the culverts and access points for properties were installed privately, and so there's a range, and it's not an even flow. With this new assessment, it looks like the grade is going to be continual, and so I'm hoping that with the excavation and clearing the new culverts, it's actually going to be a smooth flow and drainage. My other question is, this was never really assessed or indicated. Is this to mitigate and anticipating flooding? And that was never really answered. I do appreciate your explanation today, because it's actually very clear, and a lot of the information that we have been getting has not been clear or succinct as to why this was being done, and you addressed that today, so thank you. But the other concern or question that I have is this being done because of anticipation of flooding with our changes in climate, et cetera? So that was one of my other questions.
Okay, thanks. And sorry, I missed your first name. Was it Patty? Patty. Okay, thanks, Patty. Do you want to make any comments?
So I guess the first thing that was done, I guess it was done around Christmas time, that was some maintenance to alleviate some localized concerns. The project that's being proposed here is a full reconstruction. So there was approximately $10,000 spent at Christmas. Well, that I guess that work would have to happen as part of our new project. It was just done proactively. The entire drain will be reshaped with this report. Regarding to climate change and flood proofing, yeah, this drain will help, but it's not designed any different than any other drain. It's not being driven by climate change, it's being driven by a request from the municipality.
So to be clear, there will be cleaning, there will be another clean out of the area, because you're going to have to get in there to do the work.
Correct. There's about 2,400 meters of ditch to be cleaned. And I do not believe when the municipality went into maintenance, any ditching was done. Bill can correct, it was just brushing. The entire ditch will be redug if this project proceeds.
Sure. Bill?
Through the mayor to council and public. Yeah, the maintenance that was done in the fall was simply to remove vegetation and brush through the channel and along the corridors to have it open for the spring in case we did get a rainfall event while this project was ongoing. Originally, there was a lot of discussion on whether we should be digging the ditch at that time, but that's counterintuitive when you have a drain report coming through. The design profile will show you on the plans of how much material is getting taken out at each station along the drain. Some areas are only taking 100 millimeters out, so 4 inches out of the bottom. Some are up to almost a meter depth that's getting taken out of the bottom of the ditch throughout. All the culverts and everything are going to be brought to a consistent grade, so the water will flow. The design standards used now are higher than what was used in 1960s, so that will deal in part with some increased flows that everybody sees from day to day. This is designed, it should be to about an inch and a half of rain over 24 hours is what the design, a 2-year storm is close to. The old design was probably a half an inch over 24 hours. This would allow for, if owners in the development in the subdivision area were to want to do additional drainage in the future, which there's been a lot of discussion of, that could occur as well. And this would serve as an outlet for that. In a major rainfall, when we get 6 inches of rain, it's still not going to handle that much water, but it will be somewhere for the water to go.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak about the design and location? Please state your name for the public record whenever
Mike
you're
Cornell.
ready. Sorry.
Mike Cornell.
Thanks, Mike.
How deep you intend on digging this ditch, especially on the east quarter town line there?
So if you can just ask us all of your questions and we'll get staff to
Oh.
reply when you're finished.
All right, that's my main question is, how deep is this ditch gonna go? And isn't there a creek or something coming out of the county bush there on the south side of the 9th?
Okay, that's all you have, Mike?
That's
I'll
it.
turn it over to staff. Perfect, thanks. Bill, Brandon, whoever wants to take that.
Through the mayor, council, and public. In general, the depth, like I said just there, is the depth isn't going to significantly change throughout. It's going to be between 4 inches and 3 feet depth taken out, but the culverts are a little bit lower than what's there today. We're not talking huge depth. There is some private ditches through the county woodlot and on various different properties that do come out to McDowell Road. Those are going to remain private. We're not proposing any work on those at this time. I have been in discussions with Bill Cridlin about a mutual agreement or something to deal with some of those back ditches that are off on county property, but that is not part of this project. This drain will still serve as an outlet for those other private systems. So.
Okay. Next, if there are people who wish to speak, you can come on up and kind of create a line here so that we're flowing through. If the next person wants to get ready and wait in behind, that would be great. If you could please state your name for the public record.
You have to speak a little louder. I'm sorry, I don't hear so good.
That's okay, I'll do my best. You've got a microphone there in front of you. Maybe a council member could turn it up as well. Could you put your name on the public record for us?
My name is Donald Taylor. I live at 1406 McDowell Road East.
Thanks for coming, Donald. What would you like to chat about today? About the design and location of the drain?
Pardon?
Design and location of the drain.
The drain starts at my fence line going east. What I would like to know is who's going to benefit by this drain. For one thing, it affects no agricultural land. I know all the farmers between there and where it cuts over to Kent Creek. Another thing you're doing, you're taking ditch water, putting it into Kent Creek and going down the road stream to where Simcoe pumps his water. Am I not right? Does the people want to drink ditch water in Simcoe? Another thing is, how did they get the prices that they got? I got 2.5 acres there and I'm assessed for $1,100. There's no drain on my property. There is not supposed to be. I have a pond. That won't affect my pond outside of it lower it. I dug a pond because I needed a pond there at the time I dug it. The water table is way down to what it used to be. I can remember, I'm probably the oldest person out there. I'm 88 years old. I know what the water tables has been. The water table has gone way down. Used to be all summer long that ditch run. When Bill McDowell put that road in there, he remedied that. I don't know anybody that's had any problems with water doing damage. Right now, I come in now, there's about 6 inches of water going down that ditch. Now, what is the reason for spending 800 and some odd $1,000? This county's so far in debt, most of it in Ontario, and you're putting more debt on it for no reason at all. There's no reason to change that drain. It doesn't affect Livingston's assessed for $23,000. It doesn't affect his property one little bit. Sean Lloyd was assessed for $12,000. He lives across the road from the ditch. How are you going to drain his property if it needed draining, which it doesn't? How are you going to drain his property across the road? I don't know how many people wanted this drain put in. I don't think it's necessary. Like I said, I've lived there all my life. And that water table is down. What happened to the program to perfect our wetlands? The only property it affects on that road is the county bush. It has water in it 7 or 8 months of the year. Thank you very much. I've had to say what I wanted to say, but I still would like the answer of why is the drain going in?
Sure. Thank you for your comments. So I'll turn it back over to Bill Mays, who can talk about why the county initiated this and who benefits.
Through the mayor to council and the public.
I'm sorry, you got to speak up. I don't hear very good.
Yeah, we're doing this Drainage Act process because it is an existing municipal drain. That was put in 1960, the year before the subdivision went in. They likely installed the drain to provide drainage so they could subdivide the land. Once a drain is constructed, council is responsible to look after the drain and keep it in maintenance and repair under the current report. I have found that the report that it's under right now needs significant work to keep it maintained, mostly, for the most part, is replacing the culverts and dealing with that. We're not deepening the drain significantly. It should not affect wells, groundwater tables, the wetland areas. This has been existing since 1960, and the idea is to keep it in a consistent level.
I understand you're going to put catch stations in on the original McDowell Road. Who's going to maintain them? You're going to get, there's bush feeds into that drain. There's going to be brush. There's going to be leaves. Who's going to clean those catch basins? That's more cost to the county. Why is the county trying to put more costs on the taxpayers out there? Well, I got 2 pieces of property there. One's $360 and the two is twice as big. My other piece of property is $1,100. Can you explain why? And other pieces I've seen $5 and $6, $27. Why is my property so much more important than anybody else on 2 acres?
So
now this is, to me, this is a farce. I don't know who complained. Somebody must have complained about the water table. Or you people wouldn't be interested in making a big buck and putting the drain in. That drain is sufficient the way it is. There's no stoppage of water. The water is the same where it starts, the same flow is going down that ditch. Why are we changing it?
Okay, Mr. Taylor, do you have any other questions? I'm going to let staff respond, but then we got to let them run through your questions. So if you have a couple more, float them out there. But if you're all finished, we'll let Bill chime in and answer.
I'm sorry, I don't hear as good as I should.
That's okay.
But
Councillor
I'm not
Van Passen,
getting
can you
no answers to the why is the drain going in?
We're gonna get you-
Somebody complained about the water table?
We're going to get you an answer in just 1 minute. Councillor Van Passen, can you turn the volume up on the side of Mr. Taylor's microphone there?
Want me to sit there? Oh.
And maybe Councillor Van Passen and Councillor Van Passen can turn their microphones up as
not
well. The
going up,
dial
is it?
is on the side. That might help him.
Hear a bit better out of that one, maybe.
And maybe Councillor Varian and Van Passen can do the same, turn their speakers up on the side just to help for the volume. Okay, Bill, Mr. Taylor wants to know why we initiated the program. Did someone complain? Is this is county-led?
we initiated the program because the drain needs to be maintained. As Sean Lloyd said, the drain hasn't been maintained since 2012. Attempting to maintain the drain, there's culverts that are blocking the flow. They're too high, too low, too small. The only way to fix that is through a new engineer's report. That's my obligation as a superintendent, is to report that to council. So that's what I did do on this one. And the only way to fix the culverts that are shot or need to be replaced is through an engineer's report that we have started here.
They're interrupting you. Those culverts that got past the subdivision are no more than 16-inch culverts. I've never seen one plugged. Where are they being plugged? Have you been on that road? Have you lived there?
I've been down it, yes.
Did you see that flooded on the road or anything there on the sides of the road? There's never been, I've lived there all my life, I cruise that road probably maybe sometimes 7 times a week. Where has it been plugged? It's been sufficient for all the years. When I was a kid, there used to be a cement bridge down where it crosses the road. They took that out when McDowell fixed the road. At that time, there used to be a big flow down through there. There's not anymore. Our water table has gone down. You must know that, to what it used to be. There used to be a lot of marshy land out there that needed draining. It's pretty well drained now. Farmers don't have no problem with water. If you can name me one farmer that's had problems with water on his fields, I'll back off of what I'm saying. There's no problems on the agricultural land. What are we living in? Where that's an zoned agriculture. Who is complaining to have this ditch opened up? It's not the county didn't drive down the road and said this needs a new ditch. Somebody had to complain. Am I not right?
Yep, and I get probably
All right,
three.
then why can't
Hold
you
on,
tell
Mr.
me
Taylor.
why we need that
Mr.
drain?
Taylor.
Where
Mr.
is it
Taylor.
flooded?
Please let staff answer the question. Let him answer your question. There is not a back and forth dialogue here, but I'm letting you because I respect your position. Please let him answer the question.
Thank you. I know you're not going to answer it, so I figured I'd be ejected for saying what I'm going to say.
No, you're not.
I'll leave. I'll just sit down.
For the record, you're more than welcome to stay if you're watching this a little bit later when you can hear better at home. But you go ahead and speak to that, and then maybe what we'll do is make yourself available to speak with him one-on-one when he can hear a bit better.
Yep. So in terms of the maintenance requests, we get 3 to 5 calls a year, especially when it's a rainy year, from the residential properties along McDowell Road that the ditch is backing up and onto their properties. I have never seen the water back up over the road, primarily on the south side of the road towards McDowell, or at the I can't speak, Bill's Corners subdivision portion. Like you say, the ditches in the ag zone area are sufficiently deep enough for the ag use for the most part. It's primarily the residential area that the water backs up, and we need to keep that going so people don't get the water. It may happen to in the houses from time to time, but this will help that.
State your name for the public record. And again, just as a reminder, we're speaking about the design and location. Sorry, just microphone has a button on the right-hand side. There's a button on the right-hand side, if you could.
Bryce Fikowski. I just wanted to know, I live one house off the east quarter line, and I'm right by the big ditch. My yard gets filled 1.5 foot of water every year. So is this ditch going to flood my yard more? Because now you're going to take this nice ditch that all the snow goes into and the water goes away. So now if you plug those ditches and you put culverts on, you put your things on top and it goes down, if that water goes into my neighbor's, it's going to go right to mine, and then the third house in pumps all their water, sump pump water, into my backyard. So going to have about 2 feet of water in my yard if you guys close these ditches. I would like to see the ditches stay open, especially, the culvert where the road is in the subdivision, when you come in, it obviously needs to be fixed. But to close those ditches, you're gonna flood my yard. And Bill's Corners is a swamp. It was always a swamp. I always have water in my basement, 2 foot. It's since 47 years I've lived there. It's always been a flood. So is closing this ditch gonna cause me to have more water? Thank you.
First, thanks for coming up. First thing I would say is it's not legal to discharge your water onto someone else's property, so whoever's doing that to you should stop. Bill?
Through the mayor to council, is, yes, the intent of this, fixing this ditch up is to assist with that flooding that's happening. It won't resolve all the problems. Owners are going to have to do their own thing on their properties to deal with the water problems on their properties. The drain will be an outlet for stormwater. We are not doing a ditch down the Coeur d'Alene Road. But right now, the municipal drain crosses the Coeur d'Alene Road just around the vacant lot on the corner, the southeast corner of the east quarter of McDowell. That is the top end of the drain. It will serve as an outlet if the roads redid the ditching up the Coeur d'Alene Road, or if the owners wanted to do something in their backyards to get water to this drain, it will act as an outlet. It's not, it won't generally make a major change, but as you said, there is water problems, basement problems in that area. The municipal drain goes away from the Coeur d'Alene Road to the east, to towards town, is where everything goes. So it doesn't go, there won't be bringing more water to your property.
Does anyone else wish to speak? And if so, if there's a couple of you, if we can get you lined up and ready to come on up. While this gentleman makes his way up, if anyone else wishes to speak, if you could jump up and get in line. Please state your name for the public record.
My name is Jim Toon, and I live on 1567 Charlottesville East Coeur d'Alene Road. I've only been a resident for 8 years, unlike Don Taylor here and some of you others. But I've not seen anything today that establishes why this is required. Like that is, aside from the fact that it's old, that the existing works are old, I haven't heard any convincing argument as to why this is required, and I haven't heard an abundance of evidence of what great benefits will accumulate for residents of this area by doing this project. I oppose it 100%. Furthermore, I know you're not addressing assessments, so I won't go into my individual number except to say this. The property that we are on is roughly 11 acres, mostly woodlot. There's no ditch in front of our home. There's no standing water anywhere on our home. It was occupied by former councillor, Norfolk councillor Jim Oliver, for 35 years, and well maintained. Home itself is built on well elevated ground. There isn't even a sump pump in the basement. And there's no standing water in my woodlot. And I have a $2,300 assessment. So please tell me what the benefit is to me as a resident, and what the benefits are, aside from the fact that, yeah, it's your responsibility to maintain it. I think that you've completely failed to establish any pressing, urgent need to do this project. And if you have something to say about how it's going to benefit residents like me, that would be my question, because I see it as a useless waste of money. And to Don Taylor, I say this.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to go back over to Mr. Mays to identify why this project is occurring.
Through the mayor to council and the public, it's been stated before, is the need for the drain is, it is an existing drain. It is in poor shape, poor condition. The culverts need to be replaced. The pipes need to be replaced. We must, under the Drainage Act, deal with this. That's our obligation as the municipality. So the engineer was appointed, and here we are with the report. People will disagree with the assessments. There is two different terms in the Drainage Act the owners must be aware of. Is the people that are directly along the municipal drain will get a benefit. That's why there's a benefit calculation in the report. Everybody else, like Jim here, they're in the watershed. They're paying because they're liable for the amount of water from their property that is going to the drain. There will be no benefit to your property. You're responsible for a portion of the cost because water from your property, you are high, but that means the water from your property has gone off onto somebody else and is causing part of the problem. That assessment is done by the engineer and is based on the area of land and land use. So it's part of the assessment appeal, but in general, that's the explanation of the benefit versus the outlet assessments under the Drainage Act in a real nutshell. The engineer may speak to how he has divided that, maybe if that helps with council's decision here.
So Bill's correct in that we have two ways of assessing drains. It's benefit and outlet. So benefit is usually assessed as when the drain runs along your property or through your property. So that's where you receive a benefit for better control of surface or subsurface water. So if you look at this project, Yeah, it's a road drain, it runs along the road. That's why Norfolk County has a huge road benefit. When you look at the residential properties up in Bill's Corners, we're filling the ditch in front of their houses. That's much better appearance. You have a much more appeasing yard. That's a benefit. That's why you're seeing assessments to those properties. They're all in the neighborhood of, I believe, $4,000. When you get up in the upper reaches of the drain isn't being constructed anywhere near you. You're just contributing to the area. So you're paying what we call outlet. And you pay, it's based on a acreage charge, as some would say. We have ways of reducing it if you're woods or, based on your land use. But essentially, yeah, the people at the top don't have the drainage problem. They drain on others. And we're trying to control it further down, and that's why they're being charged a portion. And when we've heard a lot of comments that, the drain doesn't need work. We've looked at this drain. We've had this project for a number of years. There's a culvert on your county road that's in very poor repair. We've had culverts replaced since being appointed on this report. Most recently, there was one a couple weeks ago. The farmer needed to be changed. So there is a need for some of these replacements. When you look at individual laneways, you're all going to get a brand new plastic sewer pipe laneway. That's a benefit. It's all going to be brand new infrastructure, and it's there for a long term. A lot of your lane culverts are in poor repair. They're failing. They weren't installed in line with the grades. That's why we're looking at a full improvement here. So that's where the project's initiated, and there is a need for the drainage on this area.
Sorry, Patty, I hate to do this to you, but it's the way we do every drainage meeting for the 26 years, how many years now? You can only speak once. If there's a question maybe you want to pose through someone else that would come up and ask it for you, that would be acceptable.
Okay.
I apologize, it's just the system that we've held everyone else to, and if I let you speak twice, then I would also just jump on here and say, well, I know that drainage is not fun, and it is not fun to receive the bill in the mail. Norfolk County also has a significant bill. We're not drumming up drainage work to charge ourselves either. We have a provincially legislated, mandated requirement to repair our assets, and quite frankly, we know what happens when we don't repair our assets in Norfolk County. They wait for us to repair, and it becomes more and more expensive. So I certainly appreciate the comments and I understand them, but Norfolk County is also has an expense here to do this work. If you wouldn't mind just stating your name for the public record, the microphone's on for you already.
Oh, thank you. My name's Beth Berg. We also live on the 9th. The question that was wanting to be asked was, is this all going to be done at the same time? When the project starts, will it be completely finished? Will it start at one end and can be completely rebuilt at the same time and be addressed? I think that's what you wanted to ask. And the question I have, or what I wanted to state, and I know I probably won't be the most popular person for this, but we happen to be in the center of it all along McDowell Road. We do have trouble with water. We are having trouble because the ditches are not draining, and it's backing up into our bush. Our sub pumps are running nonstop, and we're getting wetter and wetter. The water table has dropped. Since we moved in over 30 years ago, when you dig down under normal conditions, the water table has dropped, as this gentleman said. But because there's no drainage in the ditch is becoming higher and higher in front of our homes. And the brush cut they did just added to it and made a bigger mess. And so now we're finding our bush is now flooded in front. We're back off the road quite a piece. And the bush is getting flooded more and more and more, and we're getting more and more water. Of course, that creates mosquito issues and other issues with this because the drainage is not flowing. We prefer an open ditch that has been going on for the last 30 years to be dug out and cleaned like it's always been done by the county and not go into the added expense, but clearly that's not 100% our decision. And we had addressed the issue the last time that we're in a bush lots along there, and as a closed-in spot with a basin, who maintains that basin? If we have to go and take the leaves off of it like on a daily basis when they're raining down on us, that is going to be a very difficult thing to keep that clear, so then it does not fix the drainage into that enclosed basin. Unless that has been rectified and that part is an open drain now. There was discussion of that. So I'm not sure what's happened with that.
Okay, thank you, Beth, and thank you, Patty, for sending Beth up. Bill, do you want to chime back in?
Through the mayor and council, or to council and the public. Yes, this whole project will be tendered under a public procurement process, all to be completed at one time by a whatever the contractor that is successful. Not likely. I won't. And then also on the second part of your question there was the maintenance of the system. It is a municipal drain. That's why we have the drainage superintendent and some staff that do go out and check on catch basins, clean grates off. We encourage owners to check the grates. If you can clean the grates off, great. If you're unable to, contact our office. However, every cent we spend on a municipal drain is charged back to the reports will have a future maintenance schedule once it's all 100% complete. But that should be minimal on the pipe portion. The open ditch portion, we do have a program where we touch up the drains every 5 to 7 years. That this one has been missed because it was under engineering and construction phases. But after construction, it will be on that regular touch-up program. So,
Councillor Van Passen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I don't want to infringe on the public, but maybe the engineer or Bill could. My understanding is the reason that they wanted to go with the enclosed portion is because it's actually cheaper because of all the utilities that are in the ditch, and we'd probably have to hand dig it. No, maybe if they, maybe I got it wrong, so maybe they can clarify that for the meeting here.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
through the mayor and to council, one of the key points is, yes, last time we did maintain the drain with the excavator, you can only dig so many buckets. You have to hand dig within 10 feet of any utility, and every house has the bell, hydro, gas. It was a nightmare digging through there. A lot of the personal services are above the bottom of the existing ditch. The engineer is including in his report some of the cost to work around the utilities in this, and I'll let him speak to that portion of the cost of the project. There is an increased cost to work in and around the utilities. Moving the hydro poles out of the center of the ditch was going to be approximately $10,000 per pole, which adds on to the project. So that's what the engineer has factored into his design on this thing.
So a lot of what Bill said is correct in that we've looked at various options here, and the problem is each house has a gas service, they have a bell service, you guys now have fiber. All these utilities cross the ditch. A lot of you people have your gas lines in your driveway, so your pipes are actually under them. Maintenance last time it was completed, my understanding, was quite costly. When you look at the cost to reconstruct the ditch and move all the utilities, yeah, it's just as economical to enclose it. It's done once. Then we don't have to deal with it again. It's an enclosed drain. It's made of plastic sewer pipe. It's low maintenance products. And we shouldn't be back here in this room in the near future.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak? Is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak? Okay, I am not seeing anyone. So with that, as a reminder, council has two options before you under Section 78 of the Drainage Act. So at this time, we can either accept the engineering report by giving it its first and second reading in the bylaw section, or we can stop the proceedings, but we would again need to defer to staff to find out what options that creates for us. Councillor Columbus.
Madam Mayor, I still have one question for our engineering consultant. On page 3 of the engineer's report, following the recommendations, there's a statement here. There should be an updated separate schedule for the main drain and each branch in order to charge out future repair costs in accordance with the Drainage Act as it now exists. We therefore recommend that a new maintenance schedule be included as part of this report for future maintenance purposes. Could we get some clarification on that?
So what that's saying is currently this drain was done as one. So this drain was constructed in 1960. It's done as one report. It was actually done by, ironically, an engineer named McDowell. And by one report, I mean there's one schedule. So one schedule means, I have this drain broken apart in 3 schedules. You have an open, you have a branch 1, and a branch 2. Your existing report is all one. So it means the way we have it with the new breakdown, if somebody does something, or say we do maintenance on branch 1, only people on branch 1 pay. If you do maintenance on branch 2, only people on branch 2 pay. With your current report, it's impossible to decipher who's on which, everyone pays. Typically, the OMAFRA will deny grant on reports that are this out of date, which is your 1960 report. And then sometimes OMAFRA will force your hand into updating your report. So with this new report, that's being taken care of. And what you're seeing is there's been a lot of severances since the 1960s. I believe the subdivision was not there. It's now there. I believe half the point of that drain was to get the subdivision built. So that's what you're seeing. This report, you have 3 separate schedules when it comes to maintenance. So we have our assessment, which is what everyone's paying based on the $925,000. If you go through that, you'll see what each person's paying, and it's divided out in each portions. So for instance, the main drain is $378,000 of the $925, and then the branches are divided accordingly. All that's broken down. It's also the same way on the maintenance schedule. So that's called Schedule D, and it starts at page 20. So that is what everyone pays on future maintenance when work is completed in the future. So that's being done to update what you have. It's also included here. Well, one thing that also people need to recognize is we are billing the utilities for the increased costs at this time. Currently, there's no way for the municipality to recuperate those costs. So hydro is being assessed, Bell's being assessed, et cetera. We have a number of assessments to them. And I know everyone looks at the project and yeah, it's $925,000. Yeah, you have to look at the components. There's a box culvert being replaced, an 8-foot span, that's over $300,000, a third of the project. And I know it makes it look like it's bigger, a drainage project, but that has to be done regardless if I showed up or not. And the cheapest way to do it was to include it in this report. The problem you have a structure that's 8 feet, or we're proposing, those structures aren't captured on your structural inspections. Typically, your municipality, like every other in Ontario, every 2 years, you hire an engineer, and they go and look at every structure in your municipality that's 3 meters or greater. A structure of this size is missed. It's up to your local roads authority or your superintendent to keep track of these with your asset management. But it's all encompassed in here. That's a large scope of the project. So there's varying components, and I know there's been lots of questions, and I encourage people to reach out if they have individual questions on assessments, and we can try to explain to you best, before we get to the quarter revision. But I guess that's all I have to add.
Great reminder for council as well that asset management plan will be built out in 2025, so there's countless other drains that, will probably be on our table. Councillor Brunton, and then I'm going to move along here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question I'd like to, the outlet, I assume, that's the legal outlet at Mills's property? Am I correct, just looking at the map here? Is that good flow from there on out, down into the Kent Creek?
I believe there's a large irrigation pond there, and then it continues on. That's where the existing municipal drain ends.
That's legal?
Correct.
Okay. My other just comment, like that whole area, I know the area is very wet all through there, but do you have any idea how deep some of those wells are on these properties?
We didn't investigate individual wells. We're not significantly deepening the drain whatsoever. We're renewing what's there. This isn't what I would call a deepening. It's just like a localized improvement, establishing the new grades for the culverts. We're not, in my opinion, going too deep in the water table.
No, but I assume that the water table is not that deep to start off with. Is that a safe assumption?
Yeah, it's a safe assumption because the ditch, I think, is at water table.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so as I said before, we have two options ahead of us. We can stop the proceedings or we can move forward, which would mean that we will get to the first and second reading in the bylaw portion. If it is the wish of council, then we would simply just receive the information, the report today, right now, which would require a mover and a seconder. Is there any direction from council? Councillor Brunton.
Well, I will move the adoption of the report, and I want to emphasize that if we're going to proceed, that it's done correctly. Thank you.
Okay, moved by Councillor Brunton, seconded by Councillor Very. Discussion or debate? I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. We'll revisit that later in the bylaw portion. Thank you everyone very much for coming, and if someone would do me a favor and tell Mr. Taylor he's welcome back to council chambers anytime, I'd appreciate that. If there's any information that you'd like to revisit, the meeting will be put on our YouTube page, so you can go back and listen and follow up then. I'll give everyone a few moments to clear out before we continue on with the next agenda item. All right, let's get back to it. We're going to move along here to Section 10. Okay, sorry about that. Quick disruption in the hallway. Want to make sure everybody can hear. We're moving along. We're on Section 10 of the agenda. No, we're not. One moment, please. Okay, I think that's a little bit better, Councillor Michelli. We're sorry about that, just a disruption in the hallway there. We're moving along. We're on Section 10, which is approval of the minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes before us. Item 10.1, council meeting minutes, February 21st, 2024. Council 10.2, council workshop minutes from February 27th, 2024. And 10.3, which is our special council meeting minutes of March 5th. Moved by Councillor Vanendrishi. Seconded by Councillor Huffman. All in favor? That is carried. We just got a lively drainage group out there, Councillor Michelli. We're closing the door to. Thanks, Bill. Okay, we're on to item 11. We have item 11.1 and 11.2, which we're going to do separately because Councillor Columbus declared on item 11.2. So while he's gone, let's do that. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder for council and committee meeting minutes of March 19th, 2024. Moved by Councillor Vanendrishi, seconded by Councillor Michelli. All in favor? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And we'll do 11.1, which is the public hearing committee meeting minutes of March 5th, 2024. Moved by Councillor Huffman, seconded by Councillor Duthie. All in favor? That is carried. We are moving along to reports of advisory committee and local boards. And as a reminder, if you're a representative of a local board, it is your responsibility to pull those motions out for discussion. You're good, Councillor Columbus. We got to your motion when you were out away. So does anyone wish to pull any resolutions from their committee meeting minutes? We have the local boards and advisory committee for sustainability committee meeting minutes, October 31st. Councillor Van Passen, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to pull resolution number 5 from the Sustainability Committee meeting of October 31st.
We can deal with it now is what question be. Okay, please go ahead, Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This resolution was brought forth from the Sustainability Committee. And if we, go back, the Sustainability Committee is the merger of the Climate Change Adaptation Committee and the Energy Efficiency Committee, or I forget the official name of it. And one of the issues is that the committee is asking that council, direct the planning department and other departments, I guess, to start looking long-term at more of the sustainability aspect and use that lens. And, maybe when we start looking at redoing our official plans and zoning bylaws, that we can build in a bit more from that. And I'm not sure if Michael Simoes is on the line that he could sort of add a bit to that, but that is the request from the committee, that we look at that option.
Okay. Bill, do you have any comments? I don't see Michael or Sydney on the line. It's okay if you don't, I'm putting you on the spot, but.
No, I was just going to say, I did have a brief chat with Councillor Van Passen about this, and I think from as far as operations, we're involved, and it's more when this gets to be implemented that we would come in. So I'm not sure if Brandon has anything to add, but it is on staff's mind, and trying to put the two together as they move forward, merge the ideas.
Okay, we'll leave it. Yeah, please.
Well, and we discussed a bit, yeah, and Ms. Clarisy's not available for today either. Like, one of the options that we had discussed in the past was starting to look at like things like permeable pavement on our parking lots and those kind of things. And I guess the request from the committee is that, you know, we actually start looking a little deeper, that we can add those little things that will make the world a better place down the road, and start building that into our process. So it's not like an immediate snap your fingers it is now, but let's start that process and keep it in everybody's front of mind instead of back of mind. So.
Okay, so you want to move that as a motion, the recommendation? Okay, I'm looking for a seconder, and then I will go to Councillor Brunton and Michelle. Is there, Councillor Duthie seconds the motion. Councillor Brunton, go ahead.
I apologize, Madam Mayor. I'm confused with Amplify Norfolk with the different things that went on in there.
Okay, we're not there yet, so
No.
just park that and we'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Michelle?
Can't hear you.
Councillor Michelle, can you hear us? And if so, we cannot hear you. And Councillor Brunton, your microphone's still on.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we could play Phone a Friend again if you'd like. Okay, you're all right. I read that free and clear. No, I'm all right. Okay, thanks, Councillor Michelle. All right, we have a motion on the floor that reads that sustainability staff liaison work with the planning department to review and work on the land evaluation tool, and that staff work with the planning to advise on sustainability measures within the growth metrics and growth evaluation. That's moved by Councillor Van Passen, seconded by Councillor Duthie. Discussion, debate. I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, thank you very much. Next up, we have item 12.2, the advisory committee meeting minutes from December 14th. Oh, sorry, Genevieve, would you like me to pass the remainder of sustainability or do them all lumped in together?
We can do them all.
Okay. If there's no one who wants to address those meeting minutes, 12.3 is Heritage Advisory Committee meeting minutes, January 8th. Economic Development Advisory meeting minutes, January 17th. Rec and Park, January 25th. Norfolk Ag, February 2nd. Long Point Conservation, February 7th. Mayor's Affordability Roundtable, February 27th. Councillor Huffman.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. I would like to discuss the draft of the Mayor's Affordability Roundtable minutes, item 4.2, resolution number 3. It was suggested and a motion was put forward that the Mayor's Affordability Roundtable Committee hereby recommends that Norfolk Council direct staff to provide a report providing a review of the current water and wastewater billing service contract with Earth, including service levels and associated costs, and provide a comparison to an in-house option in an effort to find the efficiencies and cost savings.
Thank you very much. So you're moving that, putting that
I
on
am.
the floor? Okay.
Yes.
Seconded by Councillor Very. Is there any discussion or debate on this? Councillor Columbus, then Duthie.
Just a comment that I recall perhaps 6 or 7 years ago, there was a cost-benefit analysis done on whether this program goes in-house for billing or whether it is contracted out, just to make note of that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councillor Duthie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And through you, I wonder if perhaps the chair could just give me a tiny bit of a context behind the discussion on that item.
The discussion came about, as you know, the Mayor's Affordability Roundtable is looking at trying to make things more affordable for residents in Norfolk County. So this was our first meeting, and it was brought forward by one of the members of the committee, looking at just some of the bills and things like that that residents have, and wondering if there was a possibility that maybe this isn't the least expensive way to go, but we didn't necessarily know that. So it is very helpful that Councillor Brunton had mentioned it to me at the beginning of the meeting, and then Councillor Columbus. Maybe this will be a very quick turnaround. Maybe they'll be able to pull that information and do a quick comparison with it. And I don't want it to be very labor intensive for staff. That wasn't the intent of the committee, but just a quick overview to see if maybe there's a possibility of some cost saving dollars.
And further to that, I would just add, we had a brief conversation about, if Earth Solutions is the best option, or sorry, if the third-party billing and so on is the best option, when does the contract end for Earth Solutions? Because specifically, we noted the high water delivery rate that was on the bills, not the water usage per se, but the delivery. So we just couldn't answer those questions directly. So if staff can pull that together, it can even, I think, be a memo, update the public and the Affordability Roundtable on how long we're in the contract, and if there's, a better solution, then that would serve the purpose.
I thank you both for that explanation, and I applaud the work of the Affordability Roundtable in looking at some things that are maybe a little outside of the box. So I welcome this information, and thanks for the context.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to enter into debate? Okay, the motion is moved by Councillor Huffman, seconded by Councillor Very. Councillor Huffman read it already on the record, so I'll leave it at that, and I will call the question. All in favor? And opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. 12.9 is draft Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting minutes of February 28th, and 12.10 is the Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting minutes of March 15th. Councillor Brunton?
Yeah, yes, Madam Mayor. I got a little confused when I read them, and then I got down to, dealing with the Amplify Norfolk, and I guess I'm still confused, and I see the motion later on, but
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
All right.
So these are just to accept the minutes regardless of what we do with Amplify. We will discuss that on 13.2.2. So, okay. Then with that, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes from all of those, the balance of the minutes from all of those committees, 12.1 through to 12.10. Moved by Councillor Vanadrishi, seconded by Councillor Duthie. All in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Columbus.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'm looking at 12.5, the Recreation and Parks Committee, and I notice under number 7 there, 7.1, it has two, are we appointing 2 people to the grant selection committee from each, or is there a mistake there somewhere? Because I see one is, right, Community Grant Selection Committee for 2023 to 2026. And then there's a second one just below that, resolution number 5. So are we appointing 2 people from each ad hoc
I read
committee?
that as resolution number 5 is a chair for the committee. You're right, it does say position of Recreation Parks Advisory Committee rep for the Norfolk Community Grant Committee. So that has to be incorrect. Councillor Vanadrishi, should you have some context, or Mr. Sloan, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If it helps, each advisory committee has 1 representative and 1 backup, so that might need some clarity that the second resolution, number 5, that individual is the backup.
Okay, so we'll amend that, and if everyone's understanding that amendment, we'll just change the names will stay the same, but the motion will read back up. Thanks for catching that, Councillor Columbus. With that, I can't recall who my mover and seconder was for the balance. I had Councillor Vanadrishi and Duthie, I believe. Item 12.1 to 12.10. All in favor? Thank you. That is carried. Those minutes are adopted. Staff reports, we're on item 13.2. We have nothing from Health and Social Services, so we're going to jump into Community Development Division. And first up is 13.2.1, which is Waverly Street Subdivision Report CD 24020. Mr. Sloan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So our planning and other departments have been working hard to bring forward another subdivision, this one in Delhi, to provide some needed housing opportunities. And Mohammed is here to provide the overview. Mohammed?
Thank you, Brandon. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and the Council. This is a draft plan of subdivision application presented to the Public Hearing Committee meeting on February 6, 2024. The proposal is for a subdivision of 45 single detached lots with a stormwater management block. The site is located at the eastern end of Waverly Street and Brook Avenue within Delhi urban boundary. The total size of the land is 7.84 acres. The land is relatively flat and vacant for a long period of time. Historically, the site was an agricultural land outside of urban boundary of Delhi. In 1985, the lands were included within the urban boundary as industrial land through an official plan amendment and a zoning bylaw amendment. The lands were converted to residential in 2019 through a zoning bylaw amendment, and this proposed subdivision is in alignment with that zoning bylaw amendment that is approved in 2019. The key features proposed for this subdivision include a 20-meter wide public road connecting Waverly Street and Brook Avenue to the west side, a stormwater management block at the northwest side, and a 3-meter drainage easement on Lot 4 and Lot 16. The key issues identified through technical comments include a land use compatibility review for the subject lands due to the proximity to industrial uses to the north and west. The industries are identified as light industry ranging from Class 1 and Class 2 categories. Appropriate buffer are proposed between 20 meter and 70 meter. A designed stormwater management pond is located strategically adjacent to northwest corner to maximize this buffer and to allow additional plantation and screening. The stormwater management pond is in principle acceptable by the development engineering. During detailed design review, the applicant must confirm the correct amount of stormwater runoff discharge from the site to the existing storm sewer. Through Madam Mayor, we received few public comments during the public hearing meeting. This includes potential loss of green space and wildlife. Staff confirmed that the woodlot referred by a member of the committee will not be removed. The tree lines along southern property line will be saved as much as possible. Species at risk screening is mandatory for any new developments to the ministry with any mitigation measures. There were questions about access to 599 Gage Street. The applicant confirmed with the proposed access to Brook Avenue. The driveway of 599 Gage Street will simply be connected with the new street. That will be removed any existing access easement currently may have. There is another issue regarding construction trucks and noise raised by a member of committee. A construction management report will be required to provide Norfolk County indicating the construction route and noise mitigation measures. The site has 2 axes, as I mentioned, and it is expected that a phasing approach will be implemented to construct the site to minimize the noise and any other construction nuisance. There was a question from the committee about an alternative loop road instead of 2 axes to Waverly Street and Brook Avenue. From engineering perspective, staff believes that 2 access point is most efficient way to achieve the service looping. From a traffic point of view, it is always recommended that there are multiple access provided to distribute the traffic to reduce the pressure on single road. Staff generally recommends permeability of both vehicular and pedestrian movement with multiple access point where feasible. During the public hearing meeting, the council directed staff to provide more information about a potential court order about the access to Brook Avenue, which was initially inquired by a member of community. Staff consulted with county's realty services and legal counsel regarding the issue and completed a thorough research and a thorough search of historical planning application records. In 1985, the subject lands are included as an industrial land in the form of expansion of urban boundary through an official plan amendment. 3 objectors hired Mr. Henselman, a lawyer, to represent them and raise the concern about this development, the proposed industrial development. Mr. Henselman provided a written objection of the proposal. One of the objections was potential traffic because of the proposed parking facility on that subject land. In 1985, the council approved the proposal. Staff confirmed at that time that the residents will get further opportunities to review the plans in detail during the site plan stage. But the proposed expansion of the industrial facility never implemented. So staff believed that there was no court order, but I mean, if there is any real court order, then our council recommended that should be provided by the objector. The proposed draft plan of subdivision will result a soft residential intensification while contributing to housing, growing housing market. In summary, it is staff's professional opinion that the proposed development meets the intent of the official plan and consistent with the PPS. Staff therefore recommend the approval of this subdivision with the conditions attached with attachment B. A minor correction to attachment B. Under paragraph 51, the reference geotechnical investigation report should be read as completed by EXP dated May 1st, 2023. That's all from my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mohammed. Are there questions from members of council through to staff? I'm not seeing any. I have one question, and it is just the way that the motion is worded that specifies that a stormwater management pond is included. Is that how we typically word the final motion if stormwater retention ponds are in there?
Through Madam Mayor, probably not. I did not see a specific, unless there is an issue with the concerned stormwater management plan. It has been discussed between the councillors, and any deviation of the recommendation is proposed. Other than that, I don't think there's no, I mean, there's no need to.
Yeah, okay, no, it's, I have no problem keeping it. I understand that it's specific to that one lot and that staff worked to renegotiate the layout of the land. I thought it was atypical, and I didn't recognize why. Mr. Sloan?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I think it's okay in this case, and that's a description of what is in the draft plan of subdivision. So if that was a park block, we would say that there were 45 lots for this, and a park block, and a commercial block, and a stormwater block. So in this case, it's just 45 lots and a stormwater block. That's the actual plan that's being draft approved. I'm seeing Tricia's nodding her head there.
Correct. So just confirming, it's a more clear and articulate approval of what the application was for.
Okay. And on the topic of that, so as we're building out communities and we're going to be looking at our urban boundary expansion and so on, like, this is a very small subdivision to receive its own stormwater retention pond or stormwater management pond. Like, it's fine. I support the motion. But I just know how much time Bill's team spends going and cleaning them out and maintaining them, and then that ultimately becomes a cost for the municipality. Is there a broader plan to look at stormwater retention ponds? We can't just be adding them in on every single one-off development and then specifying in the motion, right? Well, I mean, we can, but I prefer not to.
Thank you. I see our friend Mr. Grice has hopped on here to help answer that.
Welcome, Mr. Grice. We can't hear you. Bad service up there?
maybe through the mayor, while Mr. Grice is, we're waiting to get him on, I'm sure he's going to talk about how we're endeavoring and updating to do master planning coming in this next year or two, including looking at stormwater management and looking at where there's opportunities for combined ponds. Also, we're looking at conducting urban area plans and master servicing strategies as one of the next steps in our growth piece, and that would be looking at each urban area and looking at things such as servicing or stormwater management strategies.
Nothing yet, but if you want to try and call our CAO, we could patch you in. Just 1 minute, Councillor Breton. Oh, Andrew, staff's requesting for you to try again, speaking again. Okay, Councillor Breton, go ahead.
I was just, while we were waiting, I was going to comment, I think Brant County, we're going through an exercise last night on stormwater management and how they're going to deal with the whole issue, and it was very interesting. I read a little bit about it, but it's, the rural are really upset, and the urban have no idea what's involved. And but I remember speaking with Andrew briefly about, you know, how we just do municipal drains, and the people that benefit pay for it. And so I agree with you. Every little subdivision, do we have to put a pond in? Well, it depends on the design, but who should really look after it?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, thanks for that. We're just going to try Mr. Grice one more time here.
So on Teams, people can hear Mr. Grice,
Oh.
just not in the chamber.
Okay.
So-
I think it's might be an us issue because on Teams, people can hear you, Andrew, but we cannot. But if it was already answered, do you want to give us a thumbs up if that's what you're waiting for? Oh, there we go. Oh,
Madam Mayor, I've got him on there.
thank you.
Go ahead, Andrew, we've got you on speaker.
Okay, hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm just going to back away from my screen for a second, and then I hear the feedback. So through the chair, Brandon is right. We are certainly looking at this from our master planning perspective. We are trying to minimize the number of ponds that we have, and this all goes back to the creation of our new stormwater program. So we have just successfully recruited our new staff, and we're becoming compliant with our new legislation. And one of those things is identifying and maintaining all of our pond network, and the best way for us to do that is to strategically locate them and minimize them so that they are servicing a larger area. There's just economies of scale that can be gained if we are to do that in a more efficient manner. So that is something that we are currently working on. And I just heard Councillor Brunton mentioning about the meeting last night in Brant County. Certainly that is also being carried from a finance perspective to start exploring what a stormwater rate may look like here in Norfolk County. And we do anticipate we would certainly have much of a similar dialogue with our residents, as there's always a confusion between urban and urban areas. And we also will have our report on the differences between the drainage program and the stormwater program coming to council in April.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, so we have a motion before us that application 28 TPL 2023-390, should that read 2024? Planning staff? The recommendation reads 2023-390. That's correct? Okay, they submitted in 20, okay. Affecting the lands described as Part Lot 24, Concession 12, 37 R3287, Parts 1 and 2, subject to row. Geographic Township of Windham, Norfolk County, to permit a draft plan of subdivision of 45 lots for single detached residential dwellings with a stormwater management pond be approved as shown in attachment A with the conditions as identified in attachment B to report CD 24020. Further, that all public input received for this application was considered as part of the decision as outlined in staff report CD 24020. Moved by Councillor Columbus, seconded by Councillor Van Passen. Councillor Columbus.
Just wanted to say that this is a good example of residential development infilling, and to make note that it does lie within the urban boundary, the current urban boundary of the town of Delhi.
Any other comments or debate? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. I cannot see Councillor Michelle on my screen anymore, though. I'm not sure if he's still there. Okay, we might have lost him, but regardless, the motion carries. Is he back? Okay, it carries. We've got quorum, it carries. Moving along, item 13.2.2, Amplify Norfolk Grant Program, CD 24047. Mr. Sloan.
Thank you, through the mayor. So this report is related to the 2024 application-based Amplify Norfolk grants, which are intended to help non-for-profit organizations de-risk new live entertainment events and help create an environment to sustain larger events during non-peak season to help contribute to our economic development and tourism in Norfolk. This was the first attempt at this, and through using a selection committee, we did work through many aspects of the process and procedures. In the end, the selection committee did not identify any of the fully eligible applications to warrant recommendation to move forward with the 40,000, 20,000, or the up to 5,000 accessibility funding categories. At this point in time, the recommendation then is before you to not award any grants. That would result in the $125,000 for the final year of Amplify Norfolk funding in 2024 to be returned to source unless directed otherwise. With that, I'll have any questions.
Well, that is an interesting plot twist. Before we get into that, I just would like to confirm, so the funds for what was Pumpkin Fest and what was Norfolk County Fair Board are still set to go forward or still allocated, independent of these funds?
To the mayor, yes, that is correct, that the 2023 funding for the partner-based events were still subject to 2023 grant agreements and deployed in 2023 for those events. And we do have carrying over and carrying forward in 2024. We do have confirmation of the Norfolk County Agricultural Society and Fairgrounds Fest. So that is deployed and moving forward. And we're just confirming with if there's anything else for 2024 on the other item.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. I will turn it over to council. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. So just to clarify what Brandon just said there. So the Norfolk Agricultural Fair Group, that's going forward similar to the program that they had last year. And then now what about the Old Town Hall? You're working on confirming with them, or is that one done? Where are we at? I was unclear.
Through the mayor, that is correct for Fairgrounds Fest 2024. Moving ahead, we've completed the 2023 for Old Town Hall, which was a combination with Pumpkin Fest, and we are in the midst of just confirming things as to the approach, if any, for 2024.
Okay, so that one's still up in the air then. Okay, I guess I'm a little, well, I'm very disappointed and confused. I can't believe that in our community we didn't have anybody that met the criteria for this program. And I see that there are some applications that are on there. So I'm just curious as to why those were brought forth to us if there wasn't anybody selected for the 40, the 40, the 20, the 5. If you can just kind of explain that a bit, that would be great.
Sure, thanks. Through the mayor, the selection committee has provided a recommendation for council to consider. Ultimately, it is council's decision. So as part of the information for council's decision, we did just attach which fully eligible applications there are for each of the grant categories and a bit of a synopsis that they provided as part of their proposal.
And these applicants, it was made very clear to them that, and I'm making sure I understand it correctly, that if you're getting 40,000, you provide 40,000, correct?
Through the mayor, that is correct. It is very clear that this is a matching grant and that eligible applications must provide equal or greater amount of eligible expenses as well.
Thank you, Brandon.
Councillor Duthie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. I think I read in the report there were 10 applications all in, is that right?
Through the mayor, that is correct.
And of which 4 of them would have met the criteria? Also correct?
Through the mayor, that is correct. Once we've done we had to do a few rounds of review, and if we wanted to be true to the exact words of the grant guidelines, and there's 3 categories. So there's eligible organizations, there's eligible projects, and there's eligible expenses. And so we had to review on all 3 accounts and meet all 3 accounts.
So I guess I'm wondering what types of things perhaps were those other applications submitting that would have disqualified them, and was there any communication with any of these groups to clarify any points or no?
Through the mayor, there were several follow-ups with some of the applications to help with information that would help with the eligibility review. One of the key things in the end and discussed with the selection committee is, to be honest, ended up being about new events or adding new live entertainment to an existing event. Versus there were some proposals about amplifying existing live entertainment at an existing event.
Okay, thank you. I think I tend to agree with Councillor Huffman. I find it somewhat disappointing. We do have a very unique community with lots of cultural elements, and we're doing really great things in terms of our entertainment spaces. And so to have had this available and not being able to provide it, I think is certainly unfortunate. I'm wondering if there was any discussion from the group regarding holding that funding available and maybe leaving the deadlines more open so people could apply at other points in the year, or any other discussion about how we could still find a way to make this work.
Through the mayor, again, as staff, we were not necessarily a voting member of what was appointed as selection committee, so I'm just a little cognizant not to speak on behalf of the selection committee. I can identify that as part of the discussions, and others may want to speak to that if there is an individual that was part of that as a member of council, that there were some possibilities discussed, which may or may not involve the scope of the terms of the guidelines, the time frames, in terms of if there was any reissuing or looking at it again. We could also look at process as well.
Councillor Brunton, if you don't mind, I'm going to skip over you and come back to you and let Councillor Very speak to that exact question because he's on the committee.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So through to council, I suppose I'll just add some things because I think Brandon's being careful, which is good, I guess. So here's what happened. So 10 came in. One the committee never saw because I guess it had some items in it that weren't eligible expenses. So that one was weeded out by staff. So 9 came to the committee for the first meeting, and the committee recommended 2. And then of those, it went back, I guess, and staff did another review and decided that 5 of the 9 that had come to committee and were reviewed and discussed were in fact not eligible projects, including the 2 that were recommended to come forward for funding, which left us with 4 that had already been assessed once and determined by the committee to not be suitable projects. So they were up for a second review, and they didn't become more fundable on a second review. So the decision was made to recommend no projects funded because the 4 that were eligible did not meet some criteria, whatever they were, whatever it was. So that's the situation that I'm trying to provide clarity of how we got to here. So there are other issues with making the decisions, just with the committee, where two of the committee members had conflicts because of their involvement with some of the groups that applied. So we were already short on committee members. And the two that declared were the chair and the vice chair. So we had no chair for the first meeting because the declarations were made at the meeting. So I chaired it, I attempted to chair it. And then in the moment where we were going to vote on one, another member declared a conflict like immediately before the vote. So we were down on that one as well. And so it was a difficult, not difficult, but just challenging approach to this. So after that, there was a discussion of, well, are these projects eligible? So what happened essentially was that my understanding from talking with staff was that staff put forward all of the projects that were submitted by eligible organizations, but not necessarily eligible projects based on the information included in the grant. So that was one of the kind of bits of weirdness there. So the other, sorry, I'm going on here, but there are some, I just want everyone to know kind of what happened. So after the further review from staff, they said, okay, well, if we're going 100% sort of by the exact wording of the grants, these other 5 are no longer. So that's kind of how we got to where we are. So when we went for the second meeting, I also declared a conflict because one of them was submitted for Friday the 13th, where it was by the Board of Trade, which I used to be involved with, and I didn't declare a conflict at the time because I'm no longer involved with the Board of Trade. But then it was brought to my attention later that perhaps the fact that I've sold t-shirts at that event may create a conflict for me if that project went forward, because more people might come to town and presumably buy a t-shirt from me. So I declared a conflict. So at that meeting, because of the conflicts from the previous members and my own, we were essentially down to 2 members that could vote on applications. And so one of the ones that had previously come forward from the Board of Trade was a split vote and defeated, and the other one was also defeated. So that's how we got to here, is that there was considerable confusion clearly in the public on how to apply for this grant, because if we have 10 applications and none of them are correct, there's something on our end that was unclear, I would say. And then to have it go back and forth. So anyways, that's how we got to where we are here with a somewhat confusing set of minutes and outcome here. So at the second meeting, and this is again, after things had already been vetted and already been met on and voted on and whatever else, we had another meeting, and it was sort of suggested that perhaps, to go with what Councillor Duthie was saying, if there was a way to say, it doesn't have to be necessarily a new event, but something new that's part of an existing event, that might be a way to go forward or whatever else. So what the challenge that emerges is that we're asking for groups to put together a new event and also commit $40,000 that they've never committed before, or $20,000. And to fairness to Brandon, so that's why they had some of the smaller events, or smaller amounts that we as a group decided not to fund, right? The 10,000, the 5,000, maybe someone could come up with that. So all around, I think that the community was confused. Certainly there was some confusion among the committee members and even staff to a degree on what was eligible and not eligible, and what we should be passing and not passing. So that is the honest sort of, that's what happened to get us to now.
Okay, thanks for that. I have a lineup of people. Councillor Brunton, Van Andrieschy, and then Huffman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know Brandon and his staff have done a lot of work on this, but when I read this, I got a little confused at the start. What Adam, certainly a lot of work went into it, but I looked at it in terms of, I thought this whole exercise was seed money to promote longevity in these organizations that came forward. That's how I looked at it. And the reason I say that is because when the Fair Board was here with their summary of how the last year went, I asked the question to her, I said, if we didn't give you money this year, would you proceed? And her answer was yes. So to me, it tells me they're in it for the long haul. And I assume the Town Hall in Waterford are the same way if they get their act together and want to do it. We are committed to those two organizations. But when I read the actual ones that are attached to the final report, and I got confused going through all the reports from committee and then into here, but I looked at it and I just didn't see the longevity coming from those organizations, like Soberfest, and I'll give that as an example here. They're going to go to the fairgrounds, and it was just another issue at the fairgrounds to me, which is already being promoted with Eat, Drink, Norfolk, and so forth. And I looked at the next one, Artesians Alley. I know a little bit about that one, but it's amazing that our BIA has $40,000 to throw at this. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I have no problem with the motion that's written in here right now, and maybe we have to go back and refine it or change it. But based on where we are financially, I find it very difficult to give money away like this. Period. So, anyways, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for those comments. Councillor Van Andrieschie.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. I recognize it's very difficult with to be able to meet the criteria for some of these, and it's understandable. I don't like the idea of closing it completely. I can understand and appreciate the money going back to return to the initiative reserve, and to that reserve, and that's fine. And if something else comes up, but I think for this year, I think we're beyond something that could come up by summer or by fall. So unless some miracle, I think it's still there in the reserve and could always take another look at it again.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Huffman, then Barry.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Wow. It looks like there was a lot of confusion in terms of this process and some real stumbling blocks that the committee entailed. So what I would like to do is I support the motion in terms of returning, an amended motion really, is to return the money to the council initiatives reserve. We can't just have those funds floating in thin air. But unfortunately, and I apologize to our CIO in advance, but I would like to put the funds back into the reserve and have our CAO dive into this a little bit more and see if there's some other way that we can possibly go about this and make it successful for not only the county, but for the community as a whole. That's my motion.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor moved by Councillor Huffman. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Duthie, and then I got to go back to Councillor Berry, and I will come to you.
Yeah, I just want to add another point of clarification because Councillor Van Andrieschie just mentioned about the summer, and not to be that guy that needs to correct everybody, but one of the issues was that they wanted projects that were on the shoulder season, so not in the summer. And that was where we ran into a couple things where it has to be either right away spring, like 2 months, and it's obviously going to be challenging to get music in a month or two, or the fall. And so we sort of run out of runway quick when we start to head into the fair, I think, and all these other things. So that was part of it. So I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't that we couldn't find anything for the summer. In fact, if it was a summer event, it was not eligible. And so that was another piece of information I just want to make sure was on the table for everybody, that it wasn't that we couldn't get it together for summer. It was really supposed to be a spring and fall and or winter thing.
Thank you. Councillor Duthie.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and through you, and I appreciate Councillor Huffman's motion. I was thinking something similar in that we would perhaps receive the report as information, not award the grants at this point, but then refer the program itself back to staff for sort of a new look and a new layout, and perhaps revise the criteria that makes it available to other community groups. And it sounds to me like we've learned some things through this initial part of the process that maybe we need to adapt and update for how we move forward. So I appreciate the intention, and I'm happy to support it.
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. It's going to be an unusual day. I'm going to agree with two councillors that generally we look at things differently, but I think this is a good example. The criteria that council set out was it was seed money for something that we figured would have longevity. We wanted the shoulder seasons. Nobody met that criteria, but I think now that we've gone through it for the year, those groups might start understand, oh, they are serious. It's not just free money that we're going to throw out. There was a very specific purpose on the hope that it would be a long-term thing to help Norfolk County as a whole. So this one got the word out. The people who applied got a better idea that we want some very strict sort of rules around who gets the money and how and what for, and to have it available for next year. Because I think these kind of events you need, and I look at Councillor Duthie for some experience and expertise on this, you need at least a year and a half to plan any event that you're looking at. $100,000 event with our cut, their cut, and that. So put the money back in the contingency reserve. That's sort of what we sort of created that reserve for in the first place, but don't throw out the whole program, and if it needs to be tweaked, we can look at it again, maybe take applications early in the fall of 24 to look at 2025 or even out to 2026. There's no reason we can't commit to money 2 years out as long as it sits in that reserve. So I will actually be supporting this amended version of the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Brandon Drachy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As long as we're making sure that the money is getting returned back into the reserve fund as well as what the amendment. No, I didn't either. No, that's fine. As long as it's going back, it has to sit somewhere before it has to come out again.
I just want to read what it formally read. Amplify Norfolk funding be closed. Okay. Councillor Brunton.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll just be brief. My questions to Brandon. Brandon, how do you determine longevity of a group? I mean, we put 40,000 in. You tell us you'll do 40,000 this year, but how do you guarantee, or I guess there is no guarantee? Like, if they don't make money or it doesn't go over well, that's the end of it, I would assume. How can you answer that question?
Yeah, through the mayor, it's a good question. It's something that the selection committee was considering as well. So part of it is it an established group? Do they have a track record of doing events or activities or things before? Do they have a funding stream? Part of the application is to submit a budget and expenses, so you can get an idea from that. What is the probability of success of this event? Is it a solid plan with good financials? Is it likely that they would require support from staff or the county, or unlikely that they would? And essentially, kind of what's the probability? And in their application, are they talking about the future years, how this would grow, what the next step would be? Like, is this the first one in a series of events? Is this the first one towards a festival? Is this something that they're looking at more than just a one-off for the year?
I have a couple questions and comments. For me, this is, I don't know if it's entirely disappointing or if it's an opportunity, because I don't really think we need to be in the live music industry. And that was initially how I felt about Amplify Norfolk way back when, but we decided to go ahead with it and committed to it, and we did, and we had success with our partners in the event, and those events potentially can still go forward with 2023 dollars allocated. And so I'm not entirely sold that this money needs to go out, because I agree with Councillor Brunton, it's not a core municipal service. We cut items out of our economic development plan that these funds could be going towards to bolster that at budget time, among other things. I can think of a few other things that the dollar could go to. So I will support the motion, so long as I understand Councillor Huffman when she says direct, Al to kind of take a look at this. I would also hope that that's kind of like a deep dive in the program and how we even got here in the first place. This is a terrible use of staff time and resources and energy, and it's just, quite frankly, a bit embarrassing. And I suppose my question is, how did we get ineligible applications in front of our committee in the first place? because they're a volunteer committee, and so of course they would pick or not pick. And then further to that, was our committee voting without quorum? Councillor Berry?
Technically, no. So because we had declarations of interest, it reduces the quorum every time someone declares. So
Okay.
we always had quorum because we had enough members who had declared. I'm not saying that well, but that's
No,
correct.
that's
right?
understood.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Councillor Van Passen?
Well, since you brought it up, I did have that discussion with the clerk because I think the last meeting when they changed the recommendations, when you read through the minutes, no, they lost quorum. There one individual left halfway through the meeting, and that would have, like, they only started with 4 and they were down to 3 because there was members that didn't show up in the first place. And no, you can't lose quorum through a declaration of a conflict of interest, but you always have to have a minimum of 3. So, if everybody showed up and 4 of them declared a conflict, that would not lose quorum. But when the fact that 2 didn't show up to start with, the third one left, right away they lost quorum before they even discussed it, let alone the declaration of conflict. So.
Yeah, like it's just very interesting to me. I will come back to both of you, and then I want to lean into Al here for a minute. It's just very interesting to me, and while I don't need there to be a fall guy or gal on this, that's not the point of it. It's just terrible from start to finish, quite frankly. Whether it's the committee's operating and we're down to 3, that's not how we should be doing business, and that's not the committee or Councillor Berry's fault. It's just the reality of the situation that we were in. The fact that the applications, I guess, weren't, or the form wasn't articulated enough to drive enough applications. We are such a busy little community with so much interest for seed money to do these types of things, but it just really begs the question for me, is this the line of business that we should be in? And for me, the answer is no. It was no years ago, and it is no now. And again, to no fault of staff, I think that's evident just in the rollout of this process. It's not our wheelhouse, and that's okay. We don't have to do all things. We need to deliver the services that we're good at delivering. We need to deliver those really well. This, isn't one of them, in my opinion. So before I go back to Councillor Berry and Councillor Duthie, I'm just wondering, Al, if you can chime in, and I guess Councillor Huffman, are you okay with, in your motion as worded, Al, to just look at the whole program? Like, are we committing to 100% giving the funds out next year, or can he look at it and bring us back options?
I would say that was what I was hoping,
Okay.
that our CEO would look into it and bring back options. And like you said, maybe it would just be deemed that we just do need to return the money to the Council Initiative Reserve and close it out. Maybe that will be the final recommendation. I don't know, but I wanted to have one more look at it.
Sure, okay, thank you for that clarity. Then I will be supporting the motion, and then before I go back to council members, can I just call on you as our CAO? This is a bit messy, and I think we need to save some face here.
I don't know if I can do that, but I'm going to do my best. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I will say through the process, when the program was outlined and came to council in December, council had an opportunity, and all those details were noted on that report. Staff did the best they could to sort of articulate the program, the requirements, what we were looking for. Unfortunately, we don't have control over the submissions, and we don't have any control over that. But I think a couple of things happened here that certainly shed some light on it. Number one, the committee met twice because there were some concerns procedurally whether it went correctly or not the first time. And so credit staff for identifying and having some concerns identified and wanting to make sure that the committee did the best they could to provide some recommendations to council. Everyone was disappointed that there wasn't anyone at the end of the day that was deemed qualified by the committee to receive a grant. But one of the things that it certainly highlighted to us, and to me in particular, because I had been involved within elements of this throughout, was that the concert promotion business or the event planning business isn't necessarily something that is in our core municipal wheelhouse. It's certainly an expertise that's required from a staffing perspective. And it's certainly something, if council directs me to bring back, we'll certainly explore what that looks like if this council decides to be in the grant business and wanting to look at certain elements for tourism, for economic development, for sort of events within the community. Do we have the expertise in-house to be able to do that? And if so, what does that look like? If we don't, are there alternatives? And so that can certainly all come back to council at a later date as we prepare for the 2025 budget and look at what that looks like for sure.
Okay, Councillor Barry.
I don't remember what I was going to say because Al was so long. So no, I mean, I wanted to say that, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It is embarrassing. And I've mentioned that at the committee meeting that, I had apologized to them for coming back and, and as the council that's on that committee, I realize that no one's going to say, you said it's not Councillor Very's fault, sure, but as we all know, when you are the face of anything, it doesn't matter if it's your fault or not, you wear it. So, whatever. It's frustrating and it's embarrassing for sure, and it's disappointing and all these other things. And I would support that. I don't think we should be in this business either. And I've asked several questions about Amplify Norfolk all along, and sort of have played my cards in that way that I didn't think it was the best use of our time or our staff or our funds or whatever. So no, it's I guess you could say we've learned some lessons. I don't know if they're lessons we necessarily needed to learn, but here we are. And I just wanted to say that, it's hard to, and Dover's an active community that wanted some of this money, and we've had several applications and interest from Port Dover. And so to be the Ward 6 representative and have to face the community is also going to be challenging, but that's just the way she goes. So yeah, it is disappointing and it is embarrassing, and I'm happy to just have it wrapped up if that's the way we go.
Councillor Duthie.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I don't really necessarily want to belabor the point at this point. I think it's important, are we in the concert business? No, that shouldn't be our role, but I think part of what the report should look at is what is our role within it. Perhaps we are the seed money, we are the sort of the funder behind it, and that's the extent of it. And then we help with approval processes and, making connections in various different places. So I think looking at what our role is would be part of it. And also, clearly we've discovered some problems with the selection committee, so maybe we need to take a look at that. But ultimately for me, we've put this out to the public. We've made the commitment. I think that we may not necessarily fund it at this moment, but let's certainly endeavor to bring it back and take a long, hard look at it. As is laid out in the motion, so I look forward to supporting it.
Okay, yeah, and I mean, further to that, it's not a comfortable conversation, but at least we're having it. At least the funds weren't endorsed to go somewhere that they shouldn't have went, and so not a fun report, but hosted in a transparent manner here to make the decision. So the motion is moved on the floor by Councillor Huffman, seconded by Councillor Duthie, I believe. That would be great if you'd read the motion.
Councillor Huffman, if you could just confirm that this is your intention. Sorry, let me find it. Moved by Councillor Huffman, seconded by Councillor Duthie, that report Amplify Norfolk Grant Program 2024 DC 24-047 be received, and that $125,000 of 2024 Amplify Norfolk funding be returned to the Council Initiatives Reserve, and further that this matter be referred back to the CAO for further review of the Amplify Norfolk Grant Program to report back to Council with options on the future of this program.
Yes, that is in that. Now, I'm just wondering, do we want a timeline in there, or do Q2, or?
Councillor Huffman's asking for a timeline. I think that's reasonable.
Through you, Madam Mayor, could we say in alignment with the 2025 budget deliberations? Because if there's a decision to continue on in the Amplified Grant business for 2025, it'll have a direct impact on the budget. Or did you want it earlier?
I was hoping for earlier.
Okay. Can we say the fall? Late summer?
Councillor Barry, jump in.
Sorry.
Jump in.
Yeah, I think Genevieve said 125, and I thought it was 105. Wasn't it 40, 40, 20, and then 5 for accessibility? So that's 105. That's not 125.
Staff would be confident at least 125 of the 375 budget allocated.
No, I don't think so.
Thanks through the mayor for clarity. So the application-based grant program was a total of 105,000.
Yeah.
The amount that council had committed for 2024 is 125,000. 10,000 was going to be used for marketing of the overall program. And since there was nothing recommended, there was nothing to market. And staff were projecting a 10,000 surplus then at the end.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I'm a little torn here. I guess I was anticipating something a little bit sooner in case we were able to get something off the ground for the shoulder season of fall. I would still like to put that kind of out there. But I understand that I don't want to add too much to the plate, but if there needs to be some discussion about that from my colleagues, I'm open to it.
Yeah, I suppose, let's have some discussion. I suppose if you had a fall event, you probably would have applied this round already. So would it be a next year, like get it ready for the fall to release next year? Councillor Duthie, do you want to?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, I agree with Councillor Huffman. I would say sort of by the end of Q2, in all honesty, in that I think it is entirely possible that booking entertainment sometimes can fall in your lap because an opportunity might just happen to arrive, and sometimes it doesn't. And you do have to look a year out or 18 months out. It just sort of depends on what touring schedules look like and various different other things. So by the end of Q2 would be my preference for this. If the decision is to go forward, we're ready to do that quickly.
Okay. End of Q2 it is. Councillor Columbus?
Madam Mayor, I'm noticed in the report here that it talks about applications have to be in by February 5th, 2024, which is long past due. So are we going to be opening this up for applications come end of Q2? Is that what we're thinking about doing?
Al is going to come back to council and tell us if he's found a better way to amend the application, go ahead with it, not go ahead with it. He's going to do a deep dive on it, talk with staff, so we'll decide at the end of Q2. Councillor Berry?
Yeah, so just looking ahead here and thinking it out. So if we're talking about the end of Q2 for the recommendations or Al's analysis or whatever we're going to call it to come back, clearly we're not going to approve anything over summer. So aren't we in the fall anyway? Yeah. Right? Because it's going to be end of June and we're going to have to decide to do an intake. If we decide to do an intake, well, that intake is going to have to happen over the summer. There's no way we're getting anything on the stage in the fall of this year at this point, I would say. And if that being the case, what difference does it make if it's Q2 or not? Well, fair enough, I want to get it done too, but if we're talking about trying to wedge it into this fall, that schedule does not make that happen, I don't think. That's all I'm kind of getting at.
Councillor Vanden Driesche.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And through you, I have to agree. And at the end of the day, who is ever coming forward with this new proposal to try to get some of these funds, they have to generate their end of the deal too. So that takes time. So I'm not under pressure here. I think whatever time it takes to make sure that the analysis is done.
Okay, so to clean this up, we have the motion that is supported by the seconder to go for Q2. Staff have also acknowledged that we can do that. So if someone is proposing something other than that, you need to put an amendment on the floor. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it just to keep moving. I'm not seeing any hands for an amendment. So Genevieve, can you read that motion one more time, please, and then we'll vote.
Sure. Through you, Mayor. Moved by Councillor Huffman and seconded by Councillor Duthie, that report Amplify Norfolk Grant Program 2024 DC-24-047 be received, and that the $125,000 of 2024 Amplify Norfolk funding be returned to the Council Initiatives Reserve, and that this matter be referred back to the CAO for further review of the Amplify Norfolk Grant Program to report back to Council in Q2 of 2024 with options on the future of this program.
Okay, looks good. One amendment, you read the report as DC 24.
It's CD.
It's CD, but that's okay. I thought it was 11 p.m. this morning, so. Councillor Brunton.
Speaking to the motion, right, Madam
Sure,
Mayor?
please.
Okay, I kind of agree with,
Actually, you're technically cut off. You've already spoke to it twice, but go for it, and then we're voting.
I did? Okay.
Yep, but go ahead.
Well, people apply more than once for a grant, so anyways. I agree with Councilor Berry, what he said, and we're going nowhere this year. And I do agree with what our county manager indicated, that let's get it right, so we're going ahead in 2025. Am I right on that?
Nope.
2024?
The report will come back to us to decide if we go ahead.
Well, I know, but he said, then, I mean, we have to budget for it, right? We got the money, but we have to get out, advertised to the people to make their applications. I just see it as I'm getting lost in my years here, but 2024 as an actual possibility of something happening. Am I correct, or am that's what I see. I might
I guess
be
we'll
wrong.
wait to see what the CAO report comes up with once they amend the application.
All right, well, I just,
Can I call the question? Okay. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. We're moving on to item 13.2.3, which is development application for 1315 Ashton Drive, Simcoe CD 24043. Mr. Sloan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The next rezoning application, we have Mr. Wallace is here to introduce the item.
Thank you, Brandon. Through the Mayor to Council, the subject land is a lot with civic address 13 to 15 Ashton Drive in Simcoe. It is currently in residential use and is in an area predominantly residential in nature. Regarding planning policy, the lands subject of this application are designated urban residential type 2, as is the remainder of the surrounding area. The proposal today is to add a special provision to the existing R2 zoning to allow for the additional use of the land for a boarding house, rooming house, and a group home. As such, it is quite a minor zoning bylaw amendment in planning terms. The public hearing was held earlier this month on March 6th. As noted at that time, technical comments were received, with development engineering noting that there was no change required to municipal servicing. A number of questions were raised by both council members as well as by the public. These were mainly related to the proposed end users of the site and the ASH program itself. These questions and issues were sent to the relevant teams to address, and attachment D to the report has some additional information. I have also passed around further explanation from Norfolk General Hospital, which was not received in time to be included into attachment D. I will not go into detail about these issues as they are not planning matters. In terms of the planning-related questions, the main question was whether this special provision applied to all buildings in the area within Haldeman Norfolk Housing Corporation's ownership. This was addressed at the public hearing meeting, but I can reiterate that this change applies only to 13 to 15 Ashton Drive. It has also been confirmed that both Grand Erie Board of Education and the Catholic School Board were notified of the proposal. Finally, there was a question about increased traffic due to this use. This was a concern as there are no sidewalks in Ashton Drive. However, given the proposed use of this particular site, it is highly unlikely to result in any increased traffic movements or parking pressures than a regular dwelling of a similar size. As such, planning staff are recommending approval for council's consideration today. To note, it has been noted that an incorrect civic address remains within the purpose and effect section of the bylaw to be reviewed following this. This had been previously noted, however, the edits do not seem to have been captured. This will be corrected, but does not impact the bylaw itself, which is correct. Thank you for your time, and I'm available for questions.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. I have Councillor Huffman ready to go.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. I would just like to move staff's recommendation.
Well, thank you very much. Councillor Michelli, you want to speak to it? Okay, is there a seconder for the motion? Counselor Berry. Counselor Michelli, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to staff. At the public hearings, obviously there were many questions asked about this particular use, but one, I don't think that the question got answered quite effectively or not, but I'm just going to ask to, maybe you can reiterate on this, Andrew. There was a concern expressed that the uses of this change were very broad. And am I correct that any change in use would have to be approved by the housing authority for any change like that to take place?
Thank you, through the chair. So it's not a change of use. We're adding in three specific uses, which are currently defined in our zoning bylaw. And actually, we've refined the definition to put a maximum number of individuals who could be in each unit. So to a maximum of 4, which is currently 4 individuals could live in either unit. So we're adding in uses that aren't explicitly permitted in the R2 zone. They are uses permitted in other zones. So that's all we're doing, and it's just for those 2 specific units. So for example, if the Housing Corporation or any other property owner in an R2 zone wanted to transition or have a boarding house, they'd go through the exact same exercise, the same application to add that use in.
All right. Oh, okay. Thank you, Trish. That is, I think, my concern is that there is still an opportunity for some checks and balances on that process.
Through the mayor to councillor. So the checks and balances they will be required to adhere to the approved zoning. And then through the building permit process, building will review the application for the permit to make sure it aligns with the zoning permissions.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Any other questions or comments? I have one question that is, we had a member of the public come forward and state that they hadn't received the notification, and we assumed that maybe it went to Haldeman Norfolk Housing Corp as the owner of the property, and hadn't made its way yet to the tenant. Did we look into that and verify?
Yes, excuse me, Madam Mayor. Yes, we've verified, and yes, the majority of them that were sent to residents who do live in Haldeman Norfolk Housing, it was in their name but sent to Haldeman Norfolk Housing. Okay. However, the 2 lists that we gathered at the end of the public hearing, so their postal address or their email address, were added in and we circulate to them. So the decision notice would go out to them, as well as we notified about this meeting to that list of people.
Okay, perfect. That was going to be my follow-up. Were they notified of this meeting? Because I made a commitment to them that if anyone didn't receive a letter, they could speak at this meeting. So for the record, Council Chambers doesn't have any guests besides our media partners. Is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak to this before we vote on the motion? I'm not seeing any. And so staff have a plan in place for future reference, especially with our housing corporation, if there was a need to contact tenants as opposed to the homeowner. I mean, I know that should be Haldeman Norfolk Housing Corp's job to get it to the tenant, but I want to ensure we're not missing anyone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So if there was an issue or concern to the property, they would contact the Housing Corporation as the property manager for the site. And theoretically, it could be bylaw if there was bylaw complaints also.
Okay. I suppose in the future, I think we have to do a little bit more legwork on if it's a county-owned facility. If we have the connections in the network anyways, we should ensure that we're reaching out. But anyways, okay. The motion reads, it's moved by Councillor Huffman, seconded by Councillor Very. I don't have the right application open. Here we go. That application ZNPL 2024-031 affecting the lands described as 13 to 15 Ashton Drive, Simcoe, Norfolk County, to amend the Norfolk County zoning bylaw 1Z 2014 from R2 to R2 with special provision 14.1052 be approved as shown in attachment C to report CD 24043, and further that public consultation was received for this application and relevant planning matters were considered as part of the decision as outlined in staff report CD 24043. With that, I will call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, staff, for working across departments to get this done. Moving along to Mr. Cridlin, we don't have anything from Environmental and Infrastructure Services, so 13.4.1 on the agenda is Clinton Street lot lease, which is OPS 24012. Bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, for County Council, just a quick reminder, this report was a result of a letter that we received, or Council did, at the CIC last week, and it's from the owners of 200 Main Street, Port Dover, offering the vacant lot to Norfolk County to use for parking. So staff had reviewed the letter and threw together the very quick report. Staff feel that taking this owner up on their offer to operate the lot for 2024, possibly 2025, would be a good thing for Port Dover to help relieve some of the on-street parking, and as well, staff are recommending that we expand our paid parking program to include this lot. Just a couple quick facts. About $9,000 is what staff are estimating for to get this lot up to a parking lot, and that includes some preparation of the surface. It is gravel now. Once that was in place, we would do a dust control suppressant to keep the dust down and keep it from wearing. There'd have to be some signage. There'd have to be some parking blocks, and as far as if it goes to paid parking, we do have 2 excess paid parking machines that when we pulled out of the other areas along the beachfront of Port Dover, we'd have to use. Revenue is a very tough thing to estimate. I think the report, working with our finance people, are a minimum of $25,000. It's just tough to estimate. We don't know how many folks will actually use the lot if there is free parking closer to the beach. However, I think one aspect we need to keep in mind is if your day in Port Dover is the beach shopping, by using this lot, it's close enough to walk to the beach, and you will be guaranteed your 4 hours or whatever you paid for. You won't have to go back for 2. So with that, staff have supplied a map, a diagram within the report. We're hoping the layout looks like that. It's basically, it encompasses some accessibility spots and rather the numbers there, but we're looking at between 60 and 65 spots. And I guess with that, staff in our support of taking the owner up on their offer, and we turn over to County Council for any questions they may have.
Okay, thanks very much. Councillor Van Passen, you want to speak to this?
I'd like to just move the staff recommendation and thank the new owners for thinking of the community and allow us the use of that for the summer. So I'd move the staff recommendation.
Okay, so moved. Is there a seconder? Councillor Brunton seconds the motion. My only question is, would be that the entrance remains off Clinton Street, but you've moved it up from our municipal lot to the donated land. So are you closing off the entrance on our municipal lot, or is that?
Madam Mayor, that's a very good question.
Looks like you've got the Jersey barrier there, but
yeah, I wasn't involved with the layout, and staff had said, you know, you've got a program with that you make this with. This could vary. So as of right now, staff do have an in and out on Clinton Street. I know we did stay away from Main Street with the grade there. We didn't think that was, even though it had been a parking lot for years, I think the last couple of years there was a piece of concrete there that prevented folks from going out. So presently, staff do have combining our Clinton Street with the larger parking lot and going out the center. But I think we need to maybe get a little further. If council approves this, then we can do a little better layout. But we didn't want to have the two, staff didn't want to have the two parking lots completely different, and it's not a lot of work to join the two with some granulars.
Okay, and then I noticed the signage, which I love. Are we still going to continue to use that green P parking signage that we have, you've got one corner where you're paying for parking, and the other one is signage. So will we continue to use, when you come in over the lift bridge, the green P notifications to direct people there? It's hard to miss, but.
Yeah, no, I think if any of the signage is up, we'll use that, and we'll just make sure that it's transferred over to the lot. But we do have to make sure people know that this is a paid parking lot versus free parking.
Oh, right, sorry, not green P. Terrible idea. I don't know what color it is, but it's not green.
Yeah, we'll make
Okay.
sure coming into town is what's reflected there.
Okay, thanks very much. The motion is moved and seconded, and it reads that staff report OPS 24012 Clinton Street lot lease be received as information, and that council authorize staff to contact the property owner at 200 Main Street, Port Dover, to negotiate a lease agreement for 2024 and possible options for 2025, and that council approve the staff recommendation that the leased lot be used as a municipal parking lot, and that council approve a scope amendment to the 2024 seasonal paid parking program to include the Clinton Street parking lot extension with incremental cost to be funded by associated paid parking revenue. Understood? Call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Nothing for corporate services today. Nothing from, that's not true. So we're on to 13.6.1, which is Committee of Adjustment Appointment, CAO 24030. Genevieve or Al?
Through you, Mayor. This report is before you today because I think council has been made aware from a number of sources that our Committee of Adjustment is facing a few challenges. A few challenges with meeting quorum and a few challenges just with their general meeting procedures. So this is an opportunity to move forward and provide some support for that committee. The minimum number of members is 5. That's set out in their terms of reference. There isn't a maximum number. Right now they have 5, although when they were at 6, the member they lost was an exceptionally knowledgeable and experienced committee member. So it's difficult to move on with that vacancy continuing. We haven't had luck in previous rounds of advertising for positions to fill these vacancies. There's one currently that staff will be reviewing any applications received and bringing forward for council's consideration. If there was an applicant from a member of the public that council wanted to appoint, there's still the option to do that, even with 2 members now. And it's staff recommendation that 2 members of council consider serving on this committee, just to provide a little bit more strength in numbers for quorum and a little bit of planning and meeting procedural guidance for the committee so that we can support them in their work. Truly, their work is serving our community, and I feel it's important we support them as we can. And I'm here for any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions, Councillor Bandadrishi.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. I agree. I think this committee in the past had up to 7 members at least. And so I think it's better to have more than less. So I'm very much prepared to make a recommendation or make a motion that Councillor Van Passen and Councillor Very, if they would like to accept that, be appointed to that committee.
Thank you for that. I'm seeing no objection from the 2 of their faces. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Huffman seconds the motion. What's funny about this is Councillor Very is very quickly on the heels of Councillor Van Passen as being the guy that you throw on the committees that no one else jumps at. So thank you to the 2 of you. Any debate or discussion or comment from the 2 members that are being appointed? You both have some experience there, so that's great. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously, reluctantly by Councillor Very. Thank you. We're going to move along to Councillor Very and Van Passen.
I just want to be clear that my reluctance was voting for Chris, not myself.
I thank you for that sort of compliment, I think, but I think I mentioned to somebody last term that I had become the second choice because everybody else on council is tied for first. So.
So cute. All right, let's move along to bylaws. So we're going to separate a couple of these out. First up, we have bylaw 14.1, item 14.1, bylaw 2023-81. Provide drainage works in the Corporation of Norfolk County for the Elliott Kitchen Drain. It is the third and final reading. So, mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Michele, seconded by Councillor Brunton. All in favor? That is carried. And then we will do our first and second reading, which is bylaw 2024-21, to being a bylaw to provide drainage works for the 9th concession for a first and second time. Mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Very, seconded by Councillor Columbus. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And the remainder of the bylaws, we have item 14.2, 14.4, 14.5, 14.6, and 14.7. So the motion would read that bylaws 2024-20 to 2024-22 to 25 inclusive be approved and signed by the mayor and clerk and affixed with the corporate seal. Moved by Councillor Duthie, seconded by Councillor Columbus. All in favor? That is carried. We have one motion today, which is my own, so if I could pass the chair to the Deputy Mayor Columbus, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor Martin, and we do have your motion before us, item 15.1, with respect to Municipal Development Corporation establishment, and pass the floor over to you, Madam Mayor.
Well, thank you, and I'm going to wise up and save my time not reading my motion and make the clerk read it later when we vote on it. But this motion speaks to a couple of unique arrangements that the municipality could be investigating. So the Municipal Development Corporation would give us a lot of flexibility with things like surplus land, agreements and partnerships in the community, sales, development opportunities, investment opportunities, and more. So the recommendation is that staff create a business case and report back to us. You're not endorsing the creation at this time. And the Services Corp looks at utility services, and it is a kind of an interesting growing municipal trend as of late, but the research on it suggests that municipalities are using it for things like water tile beds, stormwater management, which is timely, street lighting, and infrastructure for water and wastewater, and with interurban water, that is also very timely. So it is for staff to investigate and create a business plan on the creation of a municipal development and or services related corporation that would give us a lot of flexibility. We would still oversee it as board of directors and really create some interesting flexibility for us to roll up our sleeves and get some projects done in a faster manner, partner with the community, see profits in our bank account over there in a separate corporate entity. So with that, I will pass it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Are there any questions to the mayor with respect to her motion? Councillor Van Andrieschie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. Just first of all, a comment that I've read up on this, and it's being used, as you've indicated, in some other municipalities, and I think it's a fantastic tool if it works for us, because what it does, it helps us move projects forward quicker. And that would be, for me at least, to see this municipality grow, essential. So whatever we can do, I would like to comment and support this, that it is something that would be absolutely beneficial for Norfolk County. Thank you.
And is there anyone else with a question? None? So I need a mover and a seconder for the mayor's motion, moved by Mayor Martin and seconded by Councillor Duthie. I will read it. That the motion be carried. Those in favor? No, pardon me. I'm all mixed up here. Okay, those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We didn't get Genevieve to read it, though, but if everybody's got it in front of them.
Thank you very much. I did read it on the public record last week, so that should be okay. It's printed online. Thank you for your help. Notice of motions, I have none tonight. Other business. General announcements. Councillor Columbus.
Madam Mayor, on behalf of council and yourself, I did attend the official opening of the Simcoe Burger King, the first Burger King in Norfolk County. And there was a lot of employees there. I think they've got 35 employees in total. So I did manage to get the first Burger King Whopper that came off the grill.
The first ever in Norfolk?
First one that came off the grill.
I gotta stop giving you the business openings, and you
You're
can
right.
do the meetings
You made
in the
a mistake
office.
by not. Notice I didn't eat it yet, but anyway. Yep. So we welcome the Burger King to the town of Simcoe. Thank you.
That is neat. I like that. Thank you for going. I appreciate that. Councillor Huffman, you reminded me of something yesterday, but you know it better than I do. So maybe you want to speak to this.
Okay, first off, I'm going to start with this Saturday, March the 30th, is the annual Easter egg hunt that WHAM puts on for the community. Due to the construction and the groundbreaking for the Waterford Skate Park, which is on the east side of the museum, staff needed to find a different location. So the Easter egg hunt will still be in Waterford. It will be at the Ball Diamond and Green Space by the arena. Gates open at 10:30. The Easter egg hunt starts at 11. Children 12 and under, it's $5 fee, and we're hoping that we were very thankful that a bunch of staff in different departments all worked together and we got the problem solved, and we've got a great location for the Easter egg hunt. So let's hope that the weather's good. On a side note, I mentioned to Mayor Martin last night at our Mayor's Affordability Roundtable, we were talking about music and talking about the Junos and just talking about the great eclectic music that we celebrate as Canadians. It was really quite something. And I just wanted to make a point that two of the groups that were nominated for Group of the Year, Walk Off the Earth and The Beaches, have both been in Norfolk County within the last 24 months. And I believe Josh Ross performed as well at the Junos. That one I'm a little bit unsure of, but I'm pretty certain, and I believe he was at the fair as Norfolk County Fair as well. So just a hats off to our community, to all the groups that work together to get this talent into rural Norfolk, and we've been listening to the music of some of the best bands in Canada. So thank you.
Very cool. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I, too, we have in Langton an Easter egg hunt that will be taking place, and we're thanking the fire department for that. They do this every year, as well as like to wish everyone a happy Easter.
Anyone else? Anything from staff? Okay. With that, mover and a seconder, please. We have one late closed session item today, that council enter closed session at 3:43 p.m. pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, Section 239(2)E and F, to discuss a matter pertaining to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Mover and a seconder? Councillor Breton, Councillor Van Passen, all in favor? Carried.
Hi, I'm Dave. I'm here to take you behind the scenes for a quick look at what we do at Norfolk County's water treatment facility. Here in Port Rowan, the water treatment process starts by pumping water from Lake Erie up into the water treatment facility. Back in the treatment facility, I inspect large clarification tanks where the lake water enters the plant. Here we add coagulant, a chemical that attracts dirt particles together. These form into larger particles called flock, which eventually sinks and is sent to waste. Next, the water enters the filtration system where any remaining dirt particles are trapped by the filters. The water is then chlorinated and sent into a 113 cubic meter underground storage chamber. The water is then taken to the granular activated carbon filters that work like supersized 10,000 pound Brita filters to remove taste and odor. The final step is disinfection, which includes UV and a final dose of chlorine, ensuring safe, potable drinking water. Water testing is an important part of the job. Throughout the day, we take water samples at different stages of the process, up to 9 tests depending on the treatment facility. As a Norfolk resident myself, I am proud to serve the community I live in. Thanks for joining me in this behind-the-scenes tour.
Hi, I'm Marissa, and I'm here to take you behind the scenes for a quick look at what we do at Norfolk County's waste and recycling operations. Here at the transfer station in Simcoe, residents can bring a variety of waste materials for disposal. Norfolk operates 2 transfer stations, welcoming about 27,000 customers every year, and accepts material ranging from bulky items, wood, metal, and yard waste. Norfolk also provides curbside waste programs. Recycling from your home arrives at this facility where it is manually sorted by the type of material. You can see why it's important to separate materials into the correct bin, rinse recyclables, and remove items from bags. This facility processes 4,600 metric tons per year. That's equal to about 20 tons per day. Once items are sorted by material type, they are baled and ready to be shipped across North America to be made into new material. About 8 to 10% of the material that arrives here shouldn't have been put in the recycling bin. Residents can use our Recycle Coach app to confirm if an item can be recycled. After seeing how waste is handled, I hope this video helps show why rinsing and sorting your recyclables are important steps in the recycling process. As a Norfolk County employee, I am proud to serve the community I was raised in. Thanks for joining me on this behind-the-scenes tour.
Hey Norfolk County! Whether you're a longtime resident, new to the area, or simply visiting, do you know about the many services provided by Norfolk County? As a single-tier municipality, we provide services that our community uses every day, including water and fire protection, curbside garbage and recycling, road and sidewalk maintenance, and so much more. We also provide services needed at unique times in life, such as a marriage or business license, or a dog tag for your new companion. And the unique geographic features in Norfolk County, from farmland and forests to lakes and wetlands, means we also provide specialized services ranging from drainage applications to tree inspections. Wondering how to contact Norfolk County? Start with Service Norfolk. Our friendly team of agents is here to help. Reach us by phone at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk from 8:30 to 4:30 Monday to Friday. Calling about an issue after hours? No problem. We have you covered. Prefer online? Email askus@norfolkcounty.ca anytime, or use our customer service portal at service.norfolkcounty.ca and get a reply right to your email inbox. Want to visit us in person? Come to one of our friendly customer service counters in Simcoe, Monday to Friday, or Delhi, Tuesday to Thursday. Service Norfolk, connecting you to Norfolk County services. Hey Norfolk County! While winter is a time to get outdoors and enjoy seasonal activities, it's also a time to pay extra attention to the weather so that you and your family are prepared for snow, ice, and storms. Keep watching for 4 tips to stay safe and be a good neighbor this winter. Tip number 1. Get the latest local news so that you can be prepared for winter weather. Listen to Norfolk's local radio stations or visit norfolkcounty.ca/news to subscribe to our news emails for alerts sent right to your inbox. If social media is your go-to, follow @Norfolk County for updates. During a significant weather event, which may be declared when a storm has the potential to be dangerous, roads may take longer to clear, and residents are urged to stay home and avoid unnecessary driving. Tip number 2. Keep your sidewalks clear of snow and ice. Norfolk's winter snow and ice bylaw requires property owners or occupants to clear sidewalks beside their property by noon the day following a snow event. Failing to do so could result in a charge under the bylaw, or county staff may clear your sidewalk and send you a bill for the service. Tip number 3. Move your parked vehicle from the road to allow snowplows to do their work. During a snow event, Norfolk's parking bylaw requires residents to move their vehicles off county streets. Failing to do so may result in a $75 parking ticket and an expensive towing bill. Plus, when snow plows have to maneuver around parked vehicles, windrows can form, making it difficult to access driveways and cross the road safely. Tip number 4, give our road crews time to clear the roads. Our crews start with high-volume roads and then move to rural roads and concessions, followed by subdivisions. It may take time for your street to be cleared, but rest assured, we will be there as soon as we can. So let's do our part to be a good neighbor so we can all have fun and stay safe this winter. To learn more about winter safety, visit norfolkcounty.ca/winter.
Norfolk County, my name is Anna and I'm here to share some water safety tips to keep you and your family safe around the water. Knowing how to swim is a life skill and an essential part of staying safe and having fun. Swimming lessons are the best way to learn essential swim survival skills to recover from a fall into deep water. Think you're too old for lessons? There are programs designed for teens and adults as well. With so many lakes and rivers, Canadians of all ages are avid boaters. Always wear a life jacket, it could save your life. Never swim alone, regardless of age and skill level. Always swim with a buddy. A buddy can throw you a buoyant aid if you get into trouble. When possible, wade into unknown waters to prevent injury. Backyard pools are a great place to make family memories. But remember, if you are not within arm's reach of your child in and around the water, then you've gone too far. Drowning can occur in as little as 10 seconds and it is silent. Every drowning death is preventable. Take time to educate yourself and those around you to ensure you're staying safe and having fun around the water. For more information, visit norfolkcounty.ca/watersafety.
Hi, I'm Mayor Amy Martin, and I'm here with the Director of Planning, Tricia Givens, to talk all things about Norfolk County planning and development. Hey, Tricia, how are you?
Hi, Mayor Martin. Good, thanks.
I'm wondering if you could share some information with the public about who the planning department is and what you do, and maybe start off with the composition of your team.
Sure. We have recently grown, so there's some core groups in our team that are really important to share. We've got the development group, which is led by a supervisor of development planning and 5 planners. We have a new position, which is the project lead for long-range policy planning projects. We have our GIS team, which includes a supervisor and 2 technicians. And then we have our admin supports, which includes planning coordinator, development coordinator, and secretary-treasurer.
And everybody has different roles and responsibilities, but on a high level, what are the roles and responsibilities of the planning department?
So we are required to do all things related to land use planning. So the number one piece is the Planning Act. There's a piece of legislation that sort of dictates and lays out the framework for how we work. So that's around development applications and people coming in with their specific applications. And then there's provincial policy conformity, so those broader county-wide projects.
And all of the planners, they're working towards, or they are registered professional planners. Can you comment on the designation of a planner and what that means when we're processing files?
Sure, that's really important. So as professional planners, we do have a standard of work and a code of conduct that we're required to follow. And in that, that's reviewing applications or running processes that broadly make sure we're planning for the role of the good of the community, the public good, and not always specific to one individual project.
I think it's an important part because I think it really differentiates the role of staff and council in the planning process. And it's something that I'm frequently asked about in the public. How does that work? What does it look like? So maybe you could share with the public the difference between, the council meetings that we host for planning files, our public hearings, our committee meetings, and then the subsequent council meeting where we approve files at a later date.
Sure. So there's two areas. So there's for specific development applications. So those are individual applications that come forward. And under the Planning Act, there's specific process and things that we're supposed to do. So for those applications, we are required to send notice to the public, post notice, share the information, have it publicly available. And then we bring that information of the complete application to council. First, we do a public hearing where folks can come and council hears about the application, poses questions, and then we come back later with a recommendation to council based on all of the information. The other types are those county-wide projects, such as a growth study or an official plan review, where there's more information, more opportunity for engagement, and we're collecting more information that comes to council. And usually there's multiple presentations to council before any decision.
So you've touched on a couple of things. One, what is a recommendation from staff? What does that mean?
That's really important. So ultimately, council makes the decision. So staff takes all of the technical information and our professional review of that particular application. And based on all of that, ensuring it conforms to our official plan, the Planning Act, the provincial policy statement, etc., we make a recommendation to council. And council takes that under advisement and ultimately makes the decision.
And that recommendation may be to approve the particular file in front of us, to reject it, to defer it to a later date. It could be a variety of different recommendations.
That's right.
Yeah. And so there is a really important piece, a role that the public plays during this process at that public hearing committee. So obviously council and staff, we really want to hear from the public when we're dealing with development files, but there's another reason why it's really important to get the public to speak and share input on the record. Can you comment on why that's so important?
Absolutely. So again, two specific areas, the specific development application or the broader county-wide projects. So for a specific application, it's important, I think, for staff and council to hear those neighborhood feedbacks, the input, and also to have their issues addressed. And then that informs the council decision. It also informs the planning recommendation to some degree. Similarly, for those broader county-wide projects, it's very important for staff to understand those perspectives and again to inform any recommendation to council.
And there is an appeal process to any decision that ends up being made by council, correct?
That's right. So that is for any statutory application. There is ability, and the rules are different depending on the type of application, but for the most part, there are opportunities to appeal those applications.
And it's important for members of the public to be on the record, either by way of written correspondence or speaking at a council meeting in favor or in opposition to a file if they're interested in appealing, right?
That's right. So staff are always really excited to see folks coming and giving their input. So we get things in writing all the time, but also folks can come and share their input or ask their questions directly at the public hearing committee.
Yeah, I agree. It's so important to hear, and it's a way that it helps staff and council make informed decisions about the type of development we want to see in our community.
Absolutely.
And certainly as mayor, and I know you probably agree as a staff member, it's our preference to keep planning decisions made on a local level. We really don't ever like to see a file go off and be appealed.
That's right. And so on that note, council does play a key role in the planning process. Do you want to perhaps speak to how that works from a political perspective?
Sure, yeah, it's a lot different than the staff perspective, but it's that important piece where we connect with the community, we hear their feedback and their concerns, and as you mentioned, those recommendations come forward to council at the public hearing meeting first, where we can ask those questions and talk with our community members, but subsequently comes back to us later for a council decision. And we're similarly to staff, we're really stuck making decisions based on the land uses, not giving consideration to a lot of the other factors that I think community members believe council members can weigh in on. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we're trying to build the best community for all of Norfolk County, and we'll do it one file at a time.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we go, top 3 most asked questions that I get all the time. I'm going to rapid fire them to you. Are we planning on growing in Norfolk County?
So yes, in our official plan, we identify our growth. And right now, interestingly, we're undergoing our comprehensive municipal review, which is how Norfolk is going to grow to 2051.
And we've already touched on it earlier, but with that appeal process, it's very difficult to say no to development. So we should really be, at a local level, kind of carving out the development the way we want to see it in our communities. Second question, I'm often asked, why doesn't council say no to more planning files?
So that's an interesting question. So I'll start with our official plan. Our official plan identifies all the designated land uses in the county. The zoning bylaw overlays and identifies specifically what you can do on each property, each type of zone. So with the exception of hazard lands and some natural heritage features, there's identified permissions already in every zone across the municipality. So if somebody came for a building permit, they could get a building permit anyways. There's some instances where people want to change those uses, and that's when things come back to council for consideration. So in that context, council is considering that adjustment or that change.
But people can come to the planning department and they don't even need to come before council if their request meets those land uses.
That's right.
Okay. And then why do some planning applications feel like they take so much longer than others?
We often get that feedback. So under the Planning Act, there's very specific statutory timeframes for each types of planning application, and staff works really hard to meet those statutory timeframes. Sometimes we don't get all the information we need, or we realize partway through that some information was missing. But for the most part, staff are working towards meeting those statutory timeframes.
And they're the same timeframes across the province,
That's right,
correct?
across the province.
Every
they're the
municipality
same.
has them.
That's right.
Okay, thanks so much. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842. Or you can email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks so much for watching.
Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We get a lot of questions at the Planning Department, and this video series will answer some of those. The first big question is, what is the official plan? Norfolk County's official plan describes Council's policy on how lands in our community should be used, managed, and developed. It is prepared with community input and helps to ensure the future planning and development will meet the specific needs of our community. An official plan includes issues such as where new housing, industry, offices, and shops will be located, and what services like roads, water mains, sewers, parks, and schools will be needed. It also defines when and in what order our community will grow and outlines community improvement initiatives. The official plan is approved by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing in Ontario. The current official plan was adopted in 2016 with a goal to manage the growth of this county for the next 20 years. Residents can see Norfolk County official plan on our website at norfolkcounty.ca/official plan. What is a secondary plan? A secondary plan is a more detailed policy document embedded within the official plan to address the growth and development issues unique to a specific area of the county. For example, the lakeshore area in Norfolk County or a particular urban area with defined characteristics can be a secondary plan. As I mentioned, it is a more detailed policy document. It provides directions on where future development will occur with a guideline on density, road access, infrastructure services, different building types, building heights, or even design guidelines that are compatible to that specific area. In Norfolk County, there is only one secondary plan at this moment, which is the Lakeshore Special Policy Area Secondary Plan. The Port Dover Secondary Plan would be the second plan the county is working on at this moment. What does the land use designation of a property mean? Norfolk County's official plan also identifies how individual land or a group of lands will be used, and this is done by the land use designation. In Norfolk County, a lot of lands have been designated as agricultural. Some areas have been designated as hazard lands because of their specific natural features. An example would be the natural creeks, streams, rivers, or shoreline areas. Some lands have been designated as residential, commercial, or industrial to efficiently manage the growth of specific land use. Each land designation has rules about the kind of development allowed. The official plan uses growth management data to identify where and how much growth will occur in the next 20 years. In accordance with the provincial requirement, Norfolk County reviews and updates these growth areas every 5 years. What is the process of changing an official plan designation? A landowner can request to change the designation of the land through an official plan amendment application. This change requires a public hearing meeting and council's decision. A landowner needs to consult with a planner to get more information about this process and to identify the required documents they must submit. Any official plan amendment needs to conform to the provincial policy statement, which is a planning policy document that affects all municipalities across Ontario. This provincial policy statement is currently under review and may change in the future. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Hannah from the Norfolk County Planning Department. We receive many questions at the Planning Department, and this video series will answer some of those, like, what types of planning applications are there? There are 4 main types of planning applications for different needs. First, there are minor variances and different types of severances. These are reviewed by Norfolk County's Committee of Adjustment. An example of a minor variance is when a garage is being built closer to a property line or is taller than what is permitted in the zoning bylaw. An example of a consent to sever is creating a new lot to allow for a new house. Second, are zoning bylaw and official plan amendments that are considered at council. An example is changing the permission in an urban area to allow for a triplex where a single detached dwelling is permitted. Third are applications that Ontario's Planning Act gives Norfolk County's Planning Department authority to approve. For example, a draft plan of condominium or subdivision, which are types of applications which enable the division of land for future housing. And fourth are applications which rely on approval from another regulator, such as telecommunications towers and hazard land boundary line adjustments. As a resident, when do I need to submit a planning application? For the average homeowner, a planning application may be required if your project does not meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw or official plan, or your property falls under site plan control. The building department will let you know that a planning application is required. If you want to change the boundaries of your lot, create an easement, or create a new lot from your property, you will need to apply for a consent to sever with the planning department. What is a pre-consultation meeting? A pre-consultation meeting is the first step of a planning application and allows staff to clarify the application process and provide a checklist of documents required. A complete application can reduce the time required for review and decision-making. Applications that must undergo a pre-consultation meeting before the application can be submitted include official plan amendments, zoning bylaw amendments, draft plans of subdivision, draft plans of condominium, and site plan applications. A meeting may also be required for certain Committee of Adjustment applications. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842. You can also email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching. Hi, I'm Hannah from the Norfolk County Planning Department. We receive many questions at the Planning Department, and this video series will answer some of those. A common question is, what is zoning? Zoning is a way of categorizing how land can be used. Norfolk County has identified through its zoning bylaw different land use zones, for example, commercial, agricultural, or residential, what they can be used for, and any required standards, for example, building size and location. Zoning must be maintained by any development or activity that has started from the date the zoning bylaw has been passed by the county. What is the process of changing a zoning bylaw? A common reason that residents are referred to the planning department is because their proposal does not meet the current zoning bylaw provisions. If a landowner wants to change the land use from what is permitted in the existing zoning, a change in the zoning bylaw would be required. For example, changing the permission from only a single detached dwelling to expand the permission to build a triplex. This is called a zoning bylaw amendment and it requires council's approval. A planning application known as a minor variance can be submitted for a minor change in the zoning bylaw, such as the height or size of a structure. Minor variances are reviewed by the Committee of Adjustment that is made up of citizen members who are appointed by Council. The committee is governed by the Planning Act and holds public meetings to approve applications for minor variances and consents. A minor variance must meet the 4 tests to be approved. 1, the change is minor. 2, the development is desirable for the appropriate use of the land, building, or structure. 3, the change maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan. And 4, the change maintains the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. What happens after a decision is made by the Committee of Adjustment? If the committee approves an application, the applicant and anyone else involved is notified. Certain parties can appeal a decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal within a 20-day appeal period. If no appeals are filed, the county issues notice that the decision is final. For minor variances, an applicant can now proceed with the building permit process. For severances, specific conditions must be met within 2 years, or the application will expire and the process will need to restart from the beginning. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We've got a lot of questions here, and this video series will answer some of those. What is a severance? Severance is a planning process to separate a piece of land from an existing lot, generally for the purpose of a new development within a new lot. There are 3 different common types of severances to receive in Norfolk County. The first one is when a piece of land is separated to create a new parcel of vacant land. For example, a landowner may have a large lot and wish to separate a piece of land from the original lot with the intention to sell the lot to a new owner. In that case, both lots need to comply with existing zoning requirements such as setbacks of any existing or new buildings from the property lines. The second one is a surplus farm dwelling severance. It happens when a landowner purchases additional farmlands and a residence on one of the properties is no longer required for their farming operation. In this case, the owner can sever the piece of land that contains the redundant residential dwelling. And the third kind of severance can be a boundary adjustment between 2 adjacent properties, where one property owner agrees to transfer a piece of their land to the other owner. There are various reasons we received a boundary adjustment severance, such as to allow additional lands, to accommodate a building construction, or to construct an extended septic system, or to resolve the setback deficiency of an existing lot. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching. Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We've got a lot of questions here, and this video series will answer some of those. What is a subdivision? If a landowner would like to divide their property into 3 pieces of land, they can submit a severance application that we explained earlier. Whereas a subdivision application is required when a landowner has a piece of land large enough to divide into more than 3 or 4 individual lots to build new houses or other kind of developments. The subdivision process generally requires a more in-depth review with a longer processing time to ensure that the development meets county's development standards. What is a condominium? A condominium, often known as a condo, is an ownership model where the building or group of buildings is divided into multiple units that are surrounded by common areas for circulation, servicing, or amenities such as parks and open spaces. The common areas are jointly owned and managed by the owners of the units. Residential condominiums are frequently constructed as apartment buildings and townhouses with private roads. Many shopping malls are also commercial condominiums in which the individual retail and office spaces are owned by businesses that occupy them, while the common areas of the mall are collectively owned by these business entities. A condominium corporation is often made up of condo unit owners who manage and operate the condominium complex. What is the difference between a subdivision and a condominium? One of the main differences between a subdivision and a condominium development is who is responsible for providing services such as water, wastewater, and road maintenance after the construction and occupancy of the dwellings or units. In a subdivision, the county takes responsibility for providing these services to individual lots. On the other hand, in a condominium, the county is only responsible to providing services up to the entry point of the development. The condominium is responsible for distributing services and the maintenance to the individual units. How are subdivisions and condominiums approved? To get approval for a subdivision or condominium, the landowner must apply for approval of a draft of the plan that shows how many lots are proposed, the lot size, how the lots will be accessed, including any new roads, and how the lots will be serviced for water and wastewater or other utilities. The planning team will provide guidelines to the landowner on the standards they need to comply with. Examples include road design, tree plantation, fencing requirements, and maintaining a buffer from any existing industrial or commercial sites, etc. Generally, the subdivision applications go to council for a decision, whereas most of the condominium applications are currently approved by the county staff under delegated authority. How are residents informed about a new subdivision? When a draft plan of a subdivision is approved, the neighbors receive an approval notice of the application. The neighbors have 20 days to appeal against the approval or refusal of the draft plan. Once the appeal period has expired, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done by the developer before beginning the construction. An approved draft plan of subdivision does not constitute a legal lot. It is merely a draft plan. Norfolk County must ensure that all lots are appropriately designed and serviceable through a subdivision agreement, and only then can the lots be registered and the owner can apply for a building permit. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching. Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We get a lot of questions here, and this video series will answer some of those. What is site plan control? Site plan control is a tool that planners use to evaluate a proposed development to ensure the site features and elements such as walkways, parking areas, and landscapings, and many other technical features meet specific standards. For example, standards may include engineering design, sustainability, and universal accessibility for barrier-free access to the building or within the property. What do I do if I have submitted a permit and I have learned my property is under site plan control? If a property is under a site plan control, the first step is to speak with a planner. A planner will need to learn about what is changing about the lands, which may or may not require a site plan application. What is a site plan waiver? Sometimes the nature of a development is so minor that a site plan application is determined to be unnecessary. In this instance, a site plan control will be waived. If you have learned from a planner that it is appropriate to waive a site plan control, you can submit an application form with any required documents to the planning department to receive a site plan waiver. Do all lands require site plan control? Not all lands require site plan control. For example, single detached dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, and townhouses that are serviced and accessed from a public road. Agricultural activities or farm buildings also do not require a site plan control. Most new commercial, institutional, and industrial developments require a site plan control. A site plan agreement with the landowner may be required to ensure that appropriate standards are maintained during the construction period. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching.
Hey, Norfolk County. Do you know how your property taxes are spent? Let's take a look together. First, we need to start with Norfolk County's budget. Every year, staff and council confirm the funds required to be collected from the property taxes paid by you and 35,000 other Norfolk County taxpayers. These funds contribute to Norfolk County's levy and capital budgets, which lay out how your tax dollars are used. The capital budget is also funded by the rate budget, the funds paid by residents known as ratepayers for water and wastewater services through their monthly water bill. The levy budget is used to deliver programs and services for residents ranging from emergency services like fire and EMS, waste services like garbage collection, recreation services like arenas, trails, and parks, maintenance services like snow removal and road repair, and human services like homelessness prevention and health education programs. Our levy budget also supports our libraries and museums, administrative services for council, and the many staff who keep Norfolk County operating. Services like recreation programs for children, adults, and seniors, and our Ride Norfolk transit program are also paid for with property taxes and supplemented by user fees. And across Ontario, a portion of each resident's property tax bill goes to our local school boards. About a third of the property taxes collected are allocated to the capital budget or reserves for future capital spending, which includes other funding sources like the federal and provincial government, reserve funds, grants, debt, and development charges, as well as funds from the rate budget. Together, the capital budget goes toward longer-term projects, such as our investments in water and wastewater facilities, as well as building and renewing our parks, roadways, pools, arenas, and other things we use every day. So the next time you hear someone ask, "Where are my property taxes going?" you can tell them to look down, look up, and look forward. Your tax dollars are at work all around you every day. When you visit your local park with your family, drive to work on cleared roads, register for swimming lessons, get rid of that old couch you've outgrown, or contact Service Norfolk about that pothole on your street that needs to be fixed. Your tax dollars are also being invested in initiatives to improve the lives of Norfolk County residents in the years to come to make Norfolk County a better place for future generations. While Norfolk County's budget is prepared once a year, your feedback helps us make decisions and plan for the future. We are committed to listening to you so that our budget reflects what is important to our community. Learn more about Norfolk County's budget at norfolkcounty.ca/budget.
Hey Norfolk County, did you know that Ride Norfolk is now on demand? This means you can schedule Norfolk's public transit service to pick you up for appointments, shopping, school, or work. Ride Norfolk has partnered with Blaze Transit to offer on-demand pickups at all 95 stops across Norfolk, including this one. I booked my trip earlier today and my bus is here right on time. Since there are no fixed local schedules, you can easily book Ride Norfolk over the phone, online, or on the Blaze Transit app from your smartphone. Thanks, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Ride Norfolk's customer service team can help answer any questions you may have, get you started with the app, or book your next ride. By moving to on-demand, Ride Norfolk is helping more residents get where they need to go. To learn more, visit norfolkcounty.ca/transit.
Hi, I'm Dave. I'm here to take you behind the scenes for a quick look at what we do at Norfolk County's water treatment facility. Here in Port Rowan, the water treatment process starts by pumping water from Lake Erie up into the water treatment facility. Back in the treatment facility, I inspect large clarification tanks where the lake water enters the plant. Here we add coagulant, a chemical that attracts dirt particles together. These form into larger particles called flock, which eventually sinks and is sent to waste. Next, the water enters the filtration system where any remaining dirt particles are trapped by the filters. The water is then chlorinated and sent into a 113 cubic meter underground storage chamber. The water is then taken to the granular activated carbon filters that work like supersized 10,000 pound Brita filters to remove taste and odor. The final step is disinfection, which includes UV and a final dose of chlorine, ensuring safe, potable drinking water. Water testing is an important part of the job. Throughout the day, we take water samples at different stages of the process, up to 9 tests depending on the treatment facility. As a Norfolk resident myself, I'm proud to serve the community I live in. Thanks for joining me in this behind-the-scenes tour.
Hi, Hi, I'm Marissa, and I'm here to take you behind the scenes for a quick look at what we do at Norfolk County's waste and recycling operations. Here at the transfer station in Simcoe, residents can bring a variety of waste materials for disposal. Norfolk operates 2 transfer stations, welcoming about 27,000 customers every year, and accepts material ranging from bulky items, wood, metal, and yard waste. Norfolk also provides curbside waste programs. Recycling from your home arrives at this facility where it is manually sorted by the type of material. You can see why it's important to separate materials into the correct bin, rinse recyclables, and remove items from bags. This facility processes 4,600 metric tons per year. That's equal to about 20 tons per day. Once items are sorted by material type, they are baled and ready to be shipped across North America to be made into new material. About 8 to 10% of the material that arrives here shouldn't have been put in the recycling bin. Residents can use our Recycle Coach app to confirm if an item can be recycled. After seeing how waste is handled, I hope this video helps show why rinsing and sorting your recyclables are important steps in the recycling process. As a Norfolk County employee, I am proud to serve the community I was raised in. Thanks for joining me on this behind-the-scenes tour.
Hey Norfolk County, whether you're a longtime resident, new to the area, or simply visiting, do you know about the many services provided by Norfolk County? As a single-tier municipality, we provide services that our community uses every day, including water and fire protection, curbside garbage and recycling, road and sidewalk maintenance, and so much more. We also provide services needed at unique times in life, such as a marriage or business license, or a dog tag for your new companion. And the unique geographic features in Norfolk County, from farmland and forests to lakes and wetlands, means we also provide specialized services ranging from drainage applications to tree inspections. Wondering how to contact Norfolk County? Start with Service Norfolk. Our friendly team of agents is here to help. Reach us by phone at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk from 8:30 to 4:30, Monday to Friday. Calling about an issue after hours? No problem. We have you covered. Prefer online? Email askus@norfolkcounty.ca anytime, or use our customer service portal at service.norfolkcounty.ca and get a reply right to your email inbox. Want to visit us in person? Come to one of our friendly customer service counters in Simcoe, Monday to Friday, or Delhi, Tuesday to Thursday. Service Norfolk, connecting you to Norfolk County services. Hey Norfolk County! While winter is a time to get outdoors and enjoy seasonal activities, it's also a time to pay extra attention to the weather so that you and your family are prepared for snow, ice, and storms. Keep watching for 4 tips to stay safe and be a good neighbor this winter. Tip number 1. Get the latest local news so that you can be prepared for winter weather. Listen to Norfolk's local radio stations or visit norfolkcounty.ca/news to subscribe to our news emails for alerts sent right to your inbox. If social media is your go-to, follow @Norfolk County for updates. During a significant weather event, which may be declared when a storm has the potential to be dangerous, roads may take longer to clear, and residents are urged to stay home and avoid unnecessary driving. Tip number 2. Keep your sidewalks clear of snow and ice. Norfolk's winter snow and ice bylaw requires property owners or occupants to clear sidewalks beside their property by noon the day following a snow event. Failing to do so could result in a charge under the bylaw, or county staff may clear your sidewalk and send you a bill for the service. Tip number 3. Move your parked vehicle from the road to allow snowplows to do their work. During a snow event, Norfolk's parking bylaw requires residents to move their vehicles off county streets. Failing to do so may result in a $75 parking ticket and an expensive towing bill. Plus, when snowplows have to maneuver around parked vehicles, windrows can form, making it difficult to access driveways and cross the road safely. Tip number 4. Give our road crews time to clear the roads. Our crews start with high volume roads and then move to rural roads and concessions, followed by subdivisions. It may take time for your street to be cleared, but rest assured, we will be there as soon as we can. So let's do our part to be a good neighbor so we can all have fun and stay safe this winter. To learn more about winter safety, visit norfolkcounty.ca/winter.
Hey Norfolk County, my name is Anna and I'm here to share some water safety tips to keep you and your family safe around the water. Knowing how to swim is a life skill and an essential part of staying safe and having fun. Swimming lessons are the best way to learn essential swim survival skills to recover from a fall into deep water. Think you're too old for lessons? There are programs designed for teens and adults as well. With so many lakes and rivers, Canadians of all ages are avid boaters. Always wear a life jacket, it could save your life. Never swim alone, regardless of age and skill level. Always swim with a buddy. A buddy can throw you a buoyant aid if you get into trouble. When possible, wade into unknown waters to prevent injury. Backyard pools are a great place to make family memories. But remember, if you are not within arm's reach of your child in and around the water, then you've gone too far. Drowning can occur in as little as 10 seconds and it is silent. Every drowning death is preventable. Take time to educate yourself and those around you to ensure you're staying safe and having fun around the water. For more information, visit norfolkcounty.ca/watersafety.
Hi, I'm Mayor Amy Martin, and I'm here with the Director of Planning, Tricia Givens, to talk all things about Norfolk County planning and development. Hey, Tricia, how are you?
Hi, Mayor Martin. Good, thanks.
I'm wondering if you could share some information with the public about who the planning department is and what you do, and maybe start off with the composition of your team.
Sure. We have recently grown, so there's some core groups in our team that are really important to share. We've got the development group, which is led by a supervisor of development planning and 5 planners. We have a new position, which is the project lead for long-range policy planning projects. We have our GIS team, which includes a supervisor and 2 technicians. And then we have our admin supports, which includes planning coordinator, development coordinator, and secretary treasurer.
And everybody has different roles and responsibilities, but on a high level, what are the roles and responsibilities of the planning department?
So we are required to do all things related to land use planning. So the number one piece is the Planning Act. There's a piece of legislation that sort of dictates and lays out the framework for how we work. So that's around development applications and people coming in with their specific applications. And then there's provincial policy conformity, so those broader county-wide projects.
And all of the planners, they're working towards, or they are registered professional planners. Can you comment on the designation of a planner and what that means when we're processing files?
Sure, that's really important. So as professional planners, we do have a standard of work and a code of conduct that we're required to follow. And in that, that's reviewing applications or running processes that broadly make sure we're planning for the role of the good of the community, the public good, and not always specific to one individual project.
I think it's an important part because I think it really differentiates the role of staff and council in the planning process. And it's something that I'm frequently asked about in the public. How does that work? What does it look like? So maybe you could share with the public the difference between, the council meetings that we host for planning files, our public hearings, our committee meetings, and then the subsequent council meeting where I am looking, welcome back, everyone. We need a motion to reconvene, and then I'll report. Oh, we have nothing anyways. We received minutes and one verbal update. So, excuse me. A motion to reconvene in open session at 4:35 p.m. moved by Councillor Banerjee, seconded by Councillor Michele. All in favor? That is carried. Nothing to report. We received minutes. We had one verbal update. So we're moving along to our confirming bylaw. I'm looking for a motion to approve bylaw 2024-26, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, moved by Councillor Brunton, seconded by Councillor Berry. All in favor? Carried. And Councillor Huffman is moving adjournment at 4:36 p.m., seconded by Councillor Columbus. And all in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, everyone, and staff. Have a good night.